There we go.
Can we handle it? Can we handle it? That's the question. That's the question. Can we handle it? And with both hands. Hey, everybody. I think we're live.
We are live.
Let's introduce ourselves so we look formal.
Sure.
You first.
My name is Varian Grant. I am the editor-in-chief, I'm told, of Indie Vault.
Is that what they tell you?
Indie Vault Media LLC. Yeah, we're big time. And also a publisher, Last Call Comics. You can find that online at lastcallcomics.com. Also on social media such as Twitter, Facebook. We're pretty much everywhere. Lastcallcomics.com. As always, I have here with me
anywhere alcohol is sold.
Anywhere alcohol is sold.
Anywhere alcohol is sold.
Or drink. Because sometimes you don't have to
get up online and crawl through them YouTubes.
And we also have, as always, the self-proclaimed
Gandalf of comics. I'm an old man with a gray beard. Anyway, hi everybody. I'm Randy Zimmerman. Used to be editor-in-chief of Flint Comics. Used to be editor-in-chief of Arrow Comics. Used to be editor-in-chief of Weeby Comics. Used to be editor-in-chief of Massive Comics. I do a lot of self-publishing. So, comic artist, YouTuber, Zim Geek channel. If you get a chance to pop over there, I have 101 subscribers. I keep getting subscribers, even though I haven't done content in over a month. So, yay. Thank you. You're welcome to jump on board. There will be new content up there probably next week, providing I can get past some commercial work. Right now, I'm going to start screen sharing some artwork that I will be coloring while we are talking. I'm behind on a deadline, but there is too much to talk about. So I'm going to jump over there if I can and start coloring.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump right into some of the things that have happened.
But I'll still be here.
And Randy, this
yes, sir.
week.
Maybe I should explain what this is. This is a trail sign for the preservers. I do a nature trail once a year for the Formar Nature Preserve here in Genesee County in Michigan. And they set these signs up all over for like a mile-long trail. And this is the very last one, sign number 14 out of 14. And like I said, I need to have this colored before tomorrow morning. So,
and Randy, how big do they blow these signs up again?
Oh, this sign is, man, you know, I set this image up, and the image size on this is 33 inches wide by almost 18 inches tall.
Okay.
I can show you a picture of what they look like. It's going to take me a second to figure out where I'm going here, because I just posted one on my Twitter feed. Can you see my feed? Are you still looking at my picture?
Still look. Hold on one second. Because I'm actually looking at the page. Yeah, still looking at your picture right now.
Okay. There. Now I'm back.
Yep.
Let me pull it up. I'll show you what a trail, typical trail sign looks like.
Okay. And we do have some people coming into the chat.
Hey, people in the chat.
We have Lewis so far. I'm pretty sure that we'll have some more very soon. I didn't give people opportunity to get in here. I spilled energy drink on my shirt a little bit before we went live.
You're not fooling anybody, buddy. You got a drooling problem.
I was looking at pages of art, and it was just.
You showed me that one picture of that one girl, and all of a sudden, just kidding.
I got a couple things to talk about this episode.
Yep. Give me a second to pull up that trail sign first, though, so that we're not jumping back and forth. Oh, and it's upside down.
Take your time.
I can rotate that canvas. Flip it. Boink. There we go. And boink. And back. And voila. That's what a trail sign looks like. They take that artwork and they cut it down, put a piece of plastic over it in order to protect it. They're usually laminated as well. And then they stick them on these laser cut metal turtle signs. Turtle is their mascot for the preserve. So then they display them all throughout the. Oh, look at that! I even put that up there wrong. Oh, and that's even wrong. Hey, eventually we'll get it. Give me a second here to rotate this correctly. There we go. Now that's right. That's from the third year trail where we introduced a new character called the Monarch. There's a monarch butterfly character that can increase her size or actually decrease her size and fly incredibly fast like a monarch. That's the monarch character there.
That's good. Now these drawings here, they don't appear in the books, do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Once the trail is done, the trail runs from spring to fall. Usually lately it's been through October.
Okay.
And then after October through the winter, I'll put them together into one of the comics. That'll be an issue. This particular panel here will be in issue number 5.
Okay.
Of the Preservers. The picture that I showed you, the photograph I showed you, was in issue 3.
Okay. All right. I understand.
So now I'm going to be coloring while we are talking. Now we can actually talk comic business.
And boy, do we have a lot of it.
The business of comics.
Yeah, we have quite a bit of it. Let me scoot up a little bit here.
What a mess! What a mess! What a mess! A group of immature brats, mostly.
And we're gonna go dark with this episode. There's a lot of stuff happening. I got some emails this week, a couple of stories. So yeah, we're gonna get dark this episode,
Just
man.
be
Are
careful.
you ready?
People like to be litigious.
Oh, I know. We're not gonna name names. We're not gonna name names.
Except for that, that one guy that wrote that one set of tweets out there. It was, anyway, never mind. Go ahead.
But I was doing some research this over the weekend, and
always fun.
Yeah, it is. And I wanted to be able to, when you mention things, instead of just nodding my head and having you explain them to me.
Oh, please, don't ever believe me. Don't ever believe me. You never know when I'm full of BS.
Well,
no, I'm serious. Do look that stuff up because you never know what you can find. I got guys, I love it when I post a video up there and I got guys coming up behind me going, well, actually this happened. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, no, everything you said was right, but I didn't realize a couple of things until I ran across an article, which I'll forward to you after we go off the air here.
Not afraid to be wrong. It's all good.
And the article was from 2015, but it was an article about indie comics, and it took the viewpoint of indie comics these days not truly being indie comics. In fact, they're not being a true indie comic. Indie comics started in the 70s,
dude,
and ended in the early 90s. There was
Marvel's selling numbers that are lower than when Arrow Comics was out. So yeah, and back at Arrow, when we were doing Arrow Comics, we were looked at down the nose at all of these so-called professionals.
Mm-hmm.
All of these guys that were working at Marvel and DC considered us to be a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody printing in black and white really didn't count.
I mean, like
we were indie comics back then. Nowadays, they'd wish that they had they wish that they had the numbers that Realm pulled down.
Well, here's the thing: like in the 70s, there was Zap Comics and Raw.
No, that's not independent comics, buddy. That's underground comics.
Well, yeah, okay, well, but they were like
there's a big difference. Big difference.
Those books were like counterculture, rebellious.
Yeah, those were in the mid to late 60s books, and they were very counterculture, very adult. All this stuff you would never see done today.
Mm-hmm.
You go back and look at the stuff that Crumb was doing. That was very stream of consciousness. That the stuff that they kind of consider him to be a weirdo about nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Back then they were doing also every taboo subject that they could come up with. They did because they could.
And boy, did they.
They did comics on sex of every type and proportion, and after a while, they got to be really misogynistic. Very few females were doing underground comics. Trina Robbins was putting up with a lot of it. I just listened to an interview with her today at the Comics Historian podcast, and she was talking about that period and how she left because it just got to be too much. I mean, the misogyny and the BS and, you know, the overblowing. A lot of these guys were pushing boundaries because they were coming off of a time when the Comic Code Authority was in full swing and they didn't have to abide by the code. So they did everything they could not to abide by the code.
And let me catch up with some of the chats here. Trico can't be with us. He's great. He's catching up on grading papers and stuff, which we understand. We still say boo, but we understand.
No, we don't. Well, yeah. Well, you know, no, we don't. I'm coloring while we're talking. He could be grading papers.
He can.
It's only a student. You know, it's only a student's livelihood at stake.
Ted's in the chat, and obviously, yeah, and Lewis. And the reason why I want to bring this up is because the person who wrote the article, they were saying there's no difference today between there's no difference today between the underground indie comics of the 70s and what we have today, except they said that indie comics today are too busy trying to emulate Marvel and DC. But I agree with you. There is a difference between those comics, Raw, again, Zap Comics.
So how old is this guy, and how uneducated is he? Can we poke and laugh, or is it just a matter of him being uneducated?
How dare you assume this person's gender?
Okay, that's right. I'm sorry. You're absolutely correct. I'm using he as a subjective, and I know that would get me tossed off of Twitter now.
It was actually a female.
Well, that's fine.
In 2015, the article was in 2015, and I was reading it, and I'm like, I don't agree.
It's not Salma Almanat, is it?
No. Because one of the quotes from the article says, "When I say indie, I mean a creator-owned comic or a comic published by a company smaller than DC, Marvel, or Image." Because
that's an uneducated opinion from somebody who just doesn't know any better.
They considered Valiant, Dark Horse as indie companies, and I don't feel those companies are very indie. I don't know. I mean, well, what do you think? What's your take on that? And I'd like to know in the chat too, guys. What's your take on that? Would you consider Valiant and Dark Horse to be indie comic publishing companies? I don't.
You would have to prove to me first that they were actual legitimate publishing companies and not vanity presses. A lot of those people, especially a lot of these companies anymore, when they're only printing 5,000-6,000 issues of anything, they might as well be printing fanzines out of their basement, but instead they want to have big offices and look like they're official. But come on. The business is ever shrinking and ever getting smaller constantly. Just about every day.
Lewis says there's a huge difference between the underground and the indie comics of the 1970s to the present. You also have to remember the undergrounds embrace marketing to counterculture venues, whereas the indie comics have largely just tried to be in the comic shops.
And again, this is somebody who not Lewis, but the person who wrote the article doesn't know their history.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. They think that they know their history and they don't. And it's a shame that there's a lot of people out there that are like that.
Lewis says Image is more indie than Valiant, as Valiant is a corporate-owned company. And Ted agrees with Lewis. And I don't really think that Dark Horse or indie companies. I think that I do like some of their books, but I haven't read books from either company in quite some time. Having said that, though, do you think that even the indie comics that we did have in the 90s, even the early 2000s, those books even they had a flair to them that Marvel and DC couldn't or wouldn't and couldn't touch. They had a harder edge. Books like The Crow, The Realm.
And again, you so many folks don't know their history, right? Marvel kicked out an underground comic for about 3 or 4 issues that when Dennis Kitchen actually put it together for him. It was called Comics Book, Comix Book. And it had all sorts of underground people in it because they tried to cash in on that, back when that Marvel actually wanted to make money. They tried to cash in on that, the underground movement.
Mm-hmm.
It was an awesome book. Had a lot of really good, very talented, very unique artists in it. But the guys that you list, I would consider them to be technically be mainstream comics. They're not. I don't consider them to be independent books. Image, though, Lewis is right. That's more of a creator-owned company. But man, the Valiant's just a lot. It's like what's their names? Aftershock and whatever the Pruitt companies are. Starts. Oh, I don't remember what the name of it is, but anyway. They're not really publishing companies as much as movie property showcases.
Mm.
All they're out to do is try to land the next big movie. That's all that they're doing.
And that's one of the things that there a lot of the companies have. They're trying to, a lot of the books are.
That's what the majority of the
wrote
image
to be
books
movies.
are. That's the majority of the image books are now. Even though they're creator owned, they're publishing those things because they have to pay to get those things published. So a lot of these guys are taking it out of their wallets and paying for the, because they're not really making money. They're not making much profit off of the image books unless you're big or you have something like Walking Dead working for you.
Mm.
The way Image works is you got to pay for all that stuff. They don't do it for free.
Right.
I mean, they pay for it or you pay for it. They front the money, you pay for it, and then you take whatever profit is left over after you've paid your balance.
I just think that personally, like for me, a lot of those companies, a lot of the companies that we have now, they've lost the edge that they once had. The books, the stories are, maybe because they're hiring the same creators. Lewis points that out. He says that the big two and these other companies are publishing the same creators, so of course it's the same stuff
and the same numbers. It's turning out to be the same numbers. Everybody's moving 6,000 to 8,000, maybe 10, maybe 12 if they're lucky.
And the mainstream, I mean, let's be honest,
they ought to be ashamed of themselves for pulling down numbers like that.
The mainstream can't survive on those numbers, and they know it.
No,
but for some reason they've convinced a number of fans that they can. And I was in a conversation this afternoon, and they pointed out that Marvel and DC they're selling books, and Marvel's selling books, and it's like those books, those numbers you're seeing are from Marvel to the distributor, not from what's leaving the store. Because my local comic store is decreasing his number of books that he's buying. He's not buying that many books. I mean, I feel bad for the guy. He opened as a Star Wars toy store.
Yeah.
He has Star Wars toys and comic books. He's screwed.
Well, and then again, what you told me on the text about that person saying Marvel hasn't never moved more product.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true because they're double and triple shipping a lot of these number ones. And then they're making the retailers pay for shipping.
Yeah.
And just giving them to them because they don't care. They got Disney money behind them. They can waste money. Get a concept out to the stores where there's plenty of copies and then do something merchandising wise with the character and hope people go in and buy them. They don't care what the retailer has to face in the meantime. and the fact that they had to cover the shipping costs. Now they have to store the damn things. Nobody wants to buy them.
Just get them out. Let's get them out the warehouse.
Just get them out of their warehouse into the retailer shops, into their long boxes. That's why you go to these comic shows, these conventions. You can catch all that stuff in 50-cent boxes, because these people just want to blow it out. They don't want it in their shop. They can't sell it.
Yeah, they don't. And there's a question here. Ted says, is Indie Kickstarter going to sell more than Marvel and DC this year? I think they're going to do better numbers.
I don't think I don't think Kickstarter will. I think you're going to see Indiegogo blow it out of the water, though.
Yeah, and here's the thing: everyone's saying indie comics are selling more and more. The comics and the comics have been selling great this year. I've been noticing a lot of times when I see these figures, that these figures are incorporating indie comics in like never before.
Well, the IndieCron number guesstimated the crowdfunding amount. They also guesstimated the digital amount, because Marvel and DC won't let go of their digital numbers. They're like Netflix. They won't tell anybody how many, what type of product and how much of the product they're moving digitally. They want you to think it's a lot, and perception's 3/4 of the rule with a lot of these companies.
Here's the problem. Here's the the name of this the description of this chat is Varian turns heel. And
I thought you were going to name this chat "I was burned by Salma Almanat's lifestyle brand."
Ooh, I'm glad you finished that statement.
I could have been mistaken.
And that's part of the thing. They are not going to like where IndieCron, those numbers they posted. Randy, tell me, because I don't know.
They're all out there praising the IndieCron numbers. Look at this. Comics are moving more than they've ever moved in the past.
Randy, do those IndieCron numbers, do they incorporate a certain group of books?
A certain group.
From a certain group? Are they incorporating numbers from a certain group?
They are guesstimating. And yes, they are using those numbers.
And are they using numbers from
they consider, despite what everybody else wants to cry and moan about, they consider those people that are doing the Indiegogo campaigns to be part of the comic industry. Yes.
And so let me get this straight. They're a part of the comic industry when the numbers help, but they want them out the industry.
Well, it's two different factions of people, because Milton Greep, the guy who used to run Capital City Distribution, who has always loved independent comics, he's a hippie from a long time back, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be. I have probably met him at one point or another. He was always awesome. He was a great person. He was always pushing comics as an art form, and for that I deeply appreciate all of his efforts. And back before Diamond became the monopoly that they are, Capital City was really moving a lot of independent product, and I mean a ton of independent product. We were moving almost as much through Capital City as Arrow Comics as what they were moving through most all of the other distributors combined. And then, Image comes in, Diamond starts their panic, Heroes World collapses, and we're left with the comic market as we have today. And Milton ends up with SCV2 as a website, and he handles those. He did that estimate number.
Okay.
And they work with retailers, because nobody can really work with Diamond. So, and they're calling it part of the industry. They are calling it, not Diamond, not Bleeding Cool, definitely not Marvel or DC, but ICV2 is calling the crowdfunding numbers pulled up by those people that as part of the industry.
Lewis says, until there is a proper secondary distribution structure that is acknowledged and supported by retailers and customers, Diamond will color the industry however they see fit.
No, that's not true, because Diamond had nothing to do with that, with those numbers. Diamond wasn't part of those. The Diamond numbers that they were moving were part of those numbers, but they didn't have any say on whether or not the crowdfunding numbers got included or not. That was all their. That was all Milton's decision. That was all ICV2.
Lewis also says, Randy, didn't we meet Milt at Motor City, the first Novi show in 93, 94? The after show meeting where you, me, Gary, Dan Vado, others were trying to form the Indie Coalition?
I don't know if we met Milton during that period, but yeah, that's when they were trying to do the coalition. Absolutely. That's when I remember meeting Dan Vado. I don't remember meeting Milton, but it's possible I did. It's very likely. The older I get, the more faultier the memory becomes.
Do you think that those the numbers? Okay, and here's
did you listen to the video that our boy Zach did with Ethan, where they were talking about this?
No, I didn't. I haven't been listening to any videos.
Well, they haven't been posting a lot because Ethan is so far behind on Cyberfrog that he's concentrating solely on getting Cyberfrog out now, because it's very important now that, now that the book is getting close to pressing 1 million on the on all from totaling up all 3 of his crowdfunding campaigns.
Okay.
He went from a 48-page book to an 88-page book, but everybody wants to complain that he's late. And then they want to complain that, obviously he went to an 88-page book because 88 is a white supremacy number. Go figure. Anyway, he hasn't posted almost anything this week. I think he did a "What did you guys send me" video, but he's not just finishing up Cyberfrog. He's also moving into a new house. That, by the way, he bought off of his YouTube money, because he hasn't quite touched the crowdfunding Cyberfrog money yet. So, and all these idiots want to complain, oh, he's behind, he's late, almost a year late. He's not almost a year late, he's only 6 months late. But he is late, and he knows he's late because he made so much money off of that crowdfunding, and he wants to do so much with that character that he took it out to 88 pages instead of the 48 that he crowdfunded.
I've seen, and this is where I'm probably gonna piss a lot of people off.
I need a color. What color should I paint this guy? What do you think? This guy here. You see him?
Let me see. Hold on.
The guy in the cloak. I don't want to do it blue. That's too close to Raven.
Yeah.
And probably shouldn't color him yellow either. Let me get rid of that.
I don't know. I'm gonna go with the.
His shirt originally was orange. Should I do it in orange? I don't want to give him an orange cloak. I'm going to give him a green cloak.
No, the green will match him to everything else behind him.
Yeah. I don't want it to blend in either.
Yeah, I was thinking of gray, but that might look dull.
Yeah, it would look dull. I want these guys to pop. They're, I'm gonna do it in green, I think. Just so I can't do it in blue. That's too close to Raven, and the cloak looks way too close to Raven. Maybe then that green. No, I'm gonna go lighter. Let's pull that green out. So
I was mentioning earlier.
Sorry, didn't mean to detract you, but go ahead.
I was mentioning earlier that this is the episode where I turn heel.
You turn what? Heel?
I turn to a bad guy, yeah. Because I've been, I started IndieVault.com as a means to try to push indie entertainment, mainly comics. Give the the creators a platform, and it has been accepted and it has been utilized. But I can't tell you how many times I send out interviews and don't get them back, or when we do go to shows, um, we get
Are you being
I've got creators. Oh, I don't feel comfortable talking on camera, and I've talked to some of them, and I've told them, you got to get out of that. You got to learn how to talk. That's the way the industry is going. You're gonna have to learn how to talk. People want to hear from you. Unfortunately, the day of separating the art from the artist, I believe, is over.
You just have to concentrate on the people that will talk to you. That's all.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Because the bigger audience you get, the more people are going to want to talk to you anyway. They just have to get to know who you are.
Ted Davies says polka dots, Randy, polka dot green.
No. Thanks for the suggestion. Okay. That's not going to fly.
We have a I'm really disappointed in some of the people that are putting out indie books right now.
Dude, I've been out of this business for 10 years doing Flint comics. I come back in and all I am is disappointed with everybody. I'm disappointed with the whole media.
Mm-hmm.
What can you do? You do your own stuff. You do what you can do. You point out the stuff that's ridiculous and then you move on. That's what I've decided to do. But, in the meantime, the main thing I want to use my video channel for is to point out the fun, because that's what I missed out on. The old style fun that I used to have doing comics. I didn't get that back until I started doing the Flint Comics book. It reinstilled my love for sequential art. That's why I'm here. That, and I seem to be making money drawing preservers. So.
But
yeah, there's so much disappointment in this. You can concentrate on the disappointment all you want, but you're not going to change nothing unless you get up there and start. We need to point some fingers, and we need to ignore the idiots out there who want to harm the industry and start pointing out the people who want to help the industry.
Yeah, definitely, because there are a few that want to help, but there are others who
there's a lot more out there than you realize, and there's a lot of people that like me and doing Flint Comics that were totally ignored by these idiots that are so-called in the industry. All of these shills out there that do nothing but print and reprint press releases. Ooh, that's probably not going to be a good combination, is it? That's kind of clashy.
And not just, like I've told you, I think I mentioned this before. There are people who have come to me and, have asked me to retract interviews, but, and I won't do it. Reviews. I won't do it. Because, if it's not a glowing review, they feel that it's a dig at their book, or it's not fair to their book. There was a whole article on the thread that I read about not posting bad reviews. Bad reviews don't help. Only write good reviews of indie comics. That's the only thing that's going to help the industry. And I don't agree with that. I think if a book isn't good, you state what you don't like about it and move on.
That's like all of these blind butt kissers out there grading all this Marvel stuff positively when they ought to be calling it to the carpet for the trash that it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what got your boy Zach in trouble.
Mm. Yeah,
that's what started it, because he started pointing out, hey, these books have a problem, and they got hostile with him and berated him, and that's when he did the dark roast, because he was tired of their BS.
And I know I said we're gonna get pretty dark this episode, so I got an email because people send Indie Volt email, and this one letter I got.
I'm going for fall colors on this guy.
Let me see. Yeah, it works. I got I got an email from a gentleman
Okay.
who informed me
Uh-oh.
he wanted me to write an article. He wants someone at IndieVolt to write an article. To contact him because he said that there is, and this is, I thought about having the article wrote and posting the article first and then discussing it, but figured, we'll talk about it here first. That there is a, I guess you can call it underground, um, ring of sex workers in comicdom.
Ha!
And here's what happens. Here's how it was pitched to me. There is a publishing company. They've got a lot. They don't have a lot of money, but they got enough money to throw around, and they come to cons with really, I mean, horrible looking books, horrible looking titles.
Well, gee, throw a dart at the wall as to who those people are.
And
Pick one. Pick one.
but they bring a bevy of beauties with them. And apparently, and they don't sell many books,
Uh-oh.
but the these cosplayers, these booth babes, are all at their table, and we're talking about massive amounts. We're not talking about one or two. We're talking about massive amounts.
There's a term I haven't heard in a long time. A long time.
For a couple of dollars, a lonely geek can procure the services of one of these cosplayers. And this is an issue. And the gentleman who wrote me the email, wants to, he's willing to give me information, post a story. And not only that, he would like to come on our chat after the story runs on IndieVolt and talk about his experiences. He's apparently procured the services of a young lady several times, and let's talk about it. Randy, you've done some adult cons in the past. You've done Comic Cons in the past. I've older ones.
Yeah.
Was that ever an issue? I mean, was there ever a time before now that there were prostitutes at Comic Con?
Free love, baby.
It's not free. It's not free.
Not out in the open. There was a time when there was one or two groupies out there that had let's say soiled reputations.
Mm-hmm.
But no organized ring, if that's what you're implying, which seems to be what you're implying. Whoever's doing that seems to have a nice little racket that will eventually end up getting him into serious trouble, him or her, depending. Oh, that's still not working. Why isn't that working?
I don't want to say too much on it because again,
there's I wouldn't recommend you run with the story because of how salacious it is. It's going to brand your site as being, adult, a little bit hardcore on the adult content.
I wish it would break first somewhere else, and then I can cover it. But
but where else are you? Who else is gonna? Nobody else has. Yeah, nobody out there is gonna run that story. It's just like your other story that you were talking about.
And that's
the same kind of thing. Almost exact same kind of thing.
Kind of. I mean, it's first of all, geez, if I would have known that I could have sex with cosplayers, I probably never would have got married. Um,
Here on our local cable station, which we have Comcast. There was a little side cable channel that I stumbled across. Oh, this was maybe a year ago or so. That had an actual serious article just as the CG stuff was popping up and the Gamergate was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Where they actually said, and they said it in all seriousness, that's the first time I learned what the word incel meant. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because they explained the terminology and what it was and how much of a problem it was in the gaming industry and in the comic industry, and how some ladies just really needed to take one for the team and try to eliminate as many incels as possible, because then everybody would be happy. I'm not lying either. I showed that to Monica. She couldn't believe it either.
Yeah.
Because they felt everything all tied back down to the idea that, all of these sexually frustrated guys that have been sitting in their basement playing video games or buying comics, they just needed to get laid. And then the world would be a brighter place. Not joking. So, to each their own, I guess.
Randy, did you get around to seeing Endgame yet?
No.
No? Still no?
That's an interesting segue.
I just want to know, because I was going to make a comment about
You can. You're past your spoiler, the official, since now Disney seems to run our lives and has said when we can and cannot do spoilers on the web. And we're past the spoiler date. We're going to be talking about spoilers if you haven't gone to see Endgame.
Endgame is officially spoiled. It's a carton of milk in your refrigerator, and the date is passed.
Oh, heaven forbid! I've been a little busy drawing nature superheroes. I've actually colored this. That's awesome. I'm going to throw some background.
Disney's going to buy this next.
I didn't think I was going to get this done tonight. This is actually working. Say what?
Disney's going to buy the preservers next, and
yeah, well, unfortunately, I have nothing to say about that. So I have no skin in the game other than what they are going to generously give me once they sell the animation rights.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the voice work I will be doing, portraying Grandmaster Snapper. So they have a little voice box right at the welcome center for the first sign, where they kick off the entire trail every year. Mm-hmm. And I've been the voice of their main mascot, Grandmaster Snapper, ever since they started. Hello, boys and girls. My name is Grandmaster Snapper. Yeah. I can do it. I always wanted to have a career in cartoon voice acting, and then I ended up like Vic, hugging too many sensitive girls.
Yep.
And I'd never heard the end of it.
They call you old Randy.
Yep, Randy.
Excommunicated from Comic-Cons everywhere.
Yeah. I'd have been long gone by now. Hey, little girl. Let me give you a hug.
I imagine.
Yeah, after that, getting back to your story in that, so that we don't wander too far off topic, though you might have pulled us off topic anyway. There was always a bit of, after the con frivolity, shall we say, during the 80s, 70s, and 80s. There were times when a lot of the big guests wouldn't show up until noon on Sunday, because they went out and they partied hard. And I mean really hard. And you would have, every once in a while, you'd have a groupie that would attach themselves to somebody. And, there was one artist who had a groupie who's really cute. And, she would, in the evening, she would demonstrate her ability to deep throat a Coke bottle to a great, to about halfway in. And the artist was extremely, happy during that period.
Was
So,
his art was his artistic output better?
actually, he was at the peak of his abilities at that point.
There we go.
And I will not name names, but anyway, everybody who has gone to those shows back then knows exactly who it is. And everybody's had their booth babe, like you said, at one point. Every company at one point or another has had that happen. Or not had that happen, but nobody's prostituted that I've ever known of. But I'm pretty naive when it comes to that kind of stuff. So would it surprise me? Probably not.
It makes sense because I've witnessed the company, and they don't sell books. So I've wondered what the hell is going on.
Do they pay their artists? Do they kick out any product?
Oh yes, they kick out product. It's
done. Does their company start with an X?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, it's just the product they put out.
Does it start with a Z?
No.
You wouldn't tell me if it did anyway.
No. I would tell you if it did. I would tell you if it did, but they put out some crappy content, and to find out that that's what they're doing, and then there's proof, and the guy's like, I'll come on your show and talk about it. I thought to myself, Indie Vote is still finding its voice as a YouTube channel, as a website, and what we want to produce. And I feel that in a way it is, I would love to protect the industry, to protect the comic industry, especially the independents, and break stories like that. But at the same time, there's a lot of legwork before you run a story like that.
Well, plus that's the kind of thing that the guy, if he's got definite evidence that this kind of stuff's going on, he needs to start seriously thinking about talking to the authorities.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I don't know if it's really an issue for Indie Vote. I mean, there are far bigger places to reach out to. I'm honored and flattered that he would reach out to Indie Vote with the story.
Well, it's probably because he's talked to or tried to talk to everybody else, and nobody remotely wants to take him seriously. Just like your other story. I think it's a little salacious for the industry in general.
They come to me because I don't have enough clout in the industry. No, it really is. To me, it's I wonder if they come to me because obviously they're probably one of the subscribers to the site, or they found Indie Vote through my publishing company, and they figure, I have this story, and I'd like to you to tell it. And again,
did it ever cross your mind that they might be trying to Admiral Akbar you?
Trap. Sometimes I
because that would be a great way to tarnish you and make you disappear.
Yeah,
as if the story is wrong.
Yeah,
I'd look at him and tell them to go to the authorities. That's not a kind of a story that Indie Vote wants to do, and they should probably take it up with the authorities.
Yeah. Oh, now we'll talk about it once the authorities get involved and start throwing people in jail.
Oh yeah, let some arrests get made, and then we can poke fun at them and point at them, and talk about this company being not the smartest company at the cons. Absolutely. Let's do that.
We have to pick fun.
Because it's been a while. There needs to really be, that I could see a scandal like that popping up just to detract people from the humdrum of the mainstream.
Lewis told me your waffling variant turned heel already. Trico says sex ring in comics. I knew SPP was pimping out David Hayes and Josh Warner. I also said it sexual pleasure press.
Is that's not who we're talking about.
No. Oh, it's not who we're talking about.
No, it can't be, because there's never any babes at that behind that table. Not that I've noticed.
That's a cold
Huh?
shot.
What?
That's a cold shot.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Um,
Did I say something wrong? I apologize.
Don't Varian call the authorities and walk away from it. And Ted, I am. I'm not going to post a story. That's why I want to talk to Randy about it and kind of give him an idea and see what I should do.
That's begging for trouble, son. That's just begging for trouble.
Trico bought his in-game tickets this weekend on Saturday, so that's pretty cool.
So he's not going until this weekend.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, me too, probably. My daughter has even gone to see it. She hasn't seen hardly any of the Marvel movies. She said it was amazing. She loved it, said she cried at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Twice.
It's gonna catch Avatar, it looks like.
Oh, it's gonna, and you'll see Cameron get all pissy. He's already pissy. He's seen it coming. Cameron's amazing. You go and you look at James Cameron's career and the chances that he's taken over the years, and the fact that he's told money people to shut the hell up and let him, shut the hell up. Let me make my movie so that you can get your money. He's awesome, but he's wrong when it comes to superhero movies.
Do you think that? Well, let me ask you, Randy. What's the number one selling comic this year? What do you think it's going to be?
Well, you will have to define selling. And number one, what's going to make the most money? You already know what's going to make the most money. As soon as that thing comes out at the end of July, boom, there's at least $800,000.
Is that? Are we going to have the Cameron effect in comics?
What are you talking about?
Like, you son of a bitch, you and your little
You're already seeing that now. That's why they're being persecuted, because anybody in their right mind who's actually looked at the any of these guys that are being castigated and thrown out of the industry, you sit there and you go, all of this is happening because you voted for Trump. What's all that about?
I tend to think a lot of these books that are coming out, and some of these books look amazing.
Some of them.
I mean, there are some that I've looked at. I don't think they're affiliated with the group. Some, because I look for any indie book I can find through Indiegogo or Kickstarter. Some of them aren't that good. Others are amazing. And you got these guys who are pros that are left and they're doing their own books now. In a way, it is almost the second coming of Image in a way.
Well, didn't we go over this last week where I said this all ties back down to Wade and Simone? The entire wave, the gain in comics. I was thinking of doing a video that thanks these people for saving the industry. They literally have saved. Wade and Simone have gone through and successfully saved the industry. Unfortunately, they haven't saved the retailers. They haven't saved the mainstream, but they've saved sequential art because they caused a problem that, and like every time in comics, anybody who's read I pointed that out and Spanked the Monkey on the comic market. Anytime there's a problem in this art form, somebody figures out a way to get around it and to make money. Just like when Image did, just like when, Marvel decided to add soap opera elements. It's one great big huge chain that's connected all in a big line. And this is just the next link in the chain. And as soon as at the end of this summer, that link will be done. And the retailers are going to have to scramble. They're going to be forced to there's getting to a point where there has to be some give. Either the retailers are going to give and go out of business, Diamond might give and go bankrupt, or Marvel and DC are going to give and decide that they actually want to make money in the industry for themselves and for the retailer and turn themselves around. One of those things, one or more of those things are going to give. It might be as early as this summer. It might be as late as next summer. But somewhere in there, something's going to happen. You're going to see a major shift happen. And, the retailers are either going to be really happy or real sad. But that's what it comes down to. If a lot of these retailers would just get together and slap these companies up and tell them to make money,
Mhm.
you know, you might see something different. The unfortunate thing is both, well, Marvel especially doesn't care about the retailers. They never have. In fact, their systematic abuse of these retailers should be called to the carpet. If I was a retailer, I'd be suing or threatening to sue Marvel for all of the shipping costs that they've had incurred onto them for books that they never asked for.
So,
It's probably happened more than once, and they've been told to shut up and pay their shipping bill or don't get comics again. It wouldn't surprise me. There's enough older retailers out there who won't put up with this crap for much longer.
have you known any comic shops in your area to they have found themselves in trouble?
Oh yeah, you have comic shops all over the place that are just barely getting by. You know, look at BC Comics is a really good example, but that was, you know, they had a whole chain of stores, Battle Creek and Howell and Fenton, and boom, gone. They went out last year. At the end of last year.
The other thing that was brought to my attention by Eric Hodson this afternoon, our good friends at Facebook have decided to protect us.
We're jumping subjects, aren't we?
Well,
are we?
Yeah.
Are we bounding to another topic?
We are. We are bounding. Our good friends at Facebook have decided to protect us from the evils of comic book journalism, and they have taken off the scourge that is bounding into comics from Facebook. They 250,000 followers strong. Page gone. Thanos snapped right off the internet.
Thanos snapped. Yep.
What's your take on that, Randy?
Well, you're asking me how I feel about Facebook. You know, there comes a time when these social networks have to abide. Granted, they're independent companies, corporations. They can do whatever they please because they're independent corporations. But there has to be a level of accepted social behavior. And I think that they need to prove that Bounding into Comics crossed that social behavior line, which, you know, they've done some pretty hardcore slanted journalism in the past.
Okay.
And that has been some real journalism and has also been opinionated journalism, a little more biting, a little bit more sarcastic than what you see on Bleeding Cool.
Okay.
You know, and that might have slammed them. Somebody TikTok turned Facebook on them somehow. And is it right? I don't think it was right for Facebook to take them down. I don't think it was right for them to remove all of their followers.
It says the page was removed on Monday around 10:20 a.m. Eastern time, shortly after we published a new Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. I was logged out of our personal Facebook account, which I use to manage the Bounding into Comics Facebook page. Upon logging back in, I received a number of alerts on Facebook indicating they had removed content, which ultimately meant they had removed not just content posts, but all traces of the Bounding into Comics Facebook page. This is obviously from boundingintocomics.com. I'm not going to show the page because I don't want YouTube to tell me that I need a copyright strike. All of a sudden they'll come after me. The first alert indicated Bounding into Comics is being removed because it violated the Facebook statement of rights and responsibilities. The next alert read, our policies prohibit posting content that infringes or violates someone else's rights or otherwise violates the law. The alerts continued, if you continue to post content that infringes or violates others' rights or otherwise violates the law, you could be temporarily blocked from posting content on Facebook or even have your account permanently banned.
Now, are they permanently banned?
Well, it goes on to say that the next alert then directed us to review Facebook's intellectual property policies. It read, if you have questions regarding the removal of content, please visit the help center to help keep your account in good standing. Remove any other content you posted to Facebook that may infringe on otherwise violate another's rights.
And I know they tried to approach the help center. And they were talking apparently to the guy, and the help center asked him who he was. They said that they were bounding into comics, and they automatically disconnected their conversation.
Wow.
They were done and kicked. So that means they're either still making a decision, or, what might have happened is Disney had them taken down. Wouldn't surprise me. They went back through their archives and found one or two things that were hostile to Marvel or Disney, and one quick call, just like they did to Rotten Tomatoes. Hey, we don't like all these negative reviews on Captain Marvel. Poof, 50,000 negative Captain Marvel reviews disappear overnight. Sounds like the same MO to me.
Is this a job?
But I'm a conspiracy nut anyway.
Is this a job? I have a question for you, Randy. And Randy, keep in mind that, this YouTube channel.
We are being recorded.
No, is in bad need of sponsor. So, no, go ahead and say what you feel.
We need to sponsor this content. I need a sponsor too.
Is this where does the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, should they be protecting us?
Who?
The Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. Should they be protecting us from some?
No. I know you said that, but from what?
From the things that are going on. Your comic book centric site being taken down.
That's not what they're there for.
Well, okay. Well, they're not there for that. But when should they have jumped up to help in a situation like what happened between what's happened going on with Richard C. Meyer and Mark Waid? Should they be involved in that? Should they be involved in when a book gets banned because someone doesn't like what's in it?
Oh, because somebody gets blacklisted out of the industry? That's not a whole lot that they can do about that, because even though it's unethical, it's not necessarily illegal. You're still dealing with private corporations making corporate decisions. Mm-hmm. They can decide who they want to work with and who they don't want to work with, even though it's unethical for them to get rid of them due to political reasons. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's against the law in I believe the country, if not most states, to get rid of them because of the color of their skin or their sexual preference. But political leaning might be a whole different matter. And if it was here in Michigan, we're now a right to work state, which means that the corporations can dump you for anything. Mm-hmm. You could look cross-eyed at your boss and you're gone. And they were fully within their rights to do it. You have a little bit of union protection, but the union protection ain't a whole lot anymore. Not in this state.
No.
So the unions are pretty useless.
I used to work at General Motors, and I can 100% attest to that.
Yeah. But that's the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund is basically there to protect themselves, to protect comics as an art form from angry moms and crazy politicians who want to ban comics because they're bending the minds of our youth, or there's some sort of illiterate kiddie trash, or they're considered too obscene. They're there to protect the art form, not the workings of the market itself.
Lewis says, I'd say DC is more the culprit these days. Chick Clearwater comes in. He says,
that's because Dan Didio can't find any talent. It's all gone.
Chick Clearwater says that people still buy comics. No, that's the problem, Chick. No one buys.
Chick. The big thing. I haven't been over to the chat yet to see what's going on, but the whole thing with the CGers, there's all of this disposable income out there from comic readers from the 80s and 90s that got away from comics, Marvel and DC mainstream stuff, because it's trash. They decided to leave because it wasn't fun for them anymore. So they decided to pick up a video game, or they decided to buy their next car or their ATV or whatever. And then, there's all of this talk about people actually saying that these comics are trash. That's how I found diversity in comics, is you told me there's this guy up there talking trash about comics. And I'm like, well, that's kind of what I'm thinking, that the comics have been trash for years. So I'm up there listening to the guy, get you all into all of these people out there that actually care about the art form.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys all do GoFundMe campaigns. So yeah, heck yeah, I'll buy your $25 book because it's got quality. It's going to be fun to read and it's not trash. So they saved Wade and Simone, saved the industry, saved the art form because they chased all these people out, made them do GoFundMe campaigns. They're now going to get rich. The retailers are going to get poorer because all these retailers could have had these books coming through their shops.
Yeah,
every last one of them, and none of them, Van Sciver or Meyer or any of that, would have ever thought about doing a GoFundMe campaign if they'd have just made that publishing deal. Yeah. If they treated Van Sciver right, he was a big star in comics. That's what that's what I understand. Mm-hmm. He was getting top rate per page for his work. He was happy to be working, and he wanted to keep working in an art form with characters that he wanted to work on.
Yeah.
He got chased off, and he decided, well, if I'm going to, if I still want to do comics, maybe I'll crowdfund the book that I drew way back when I was first getting into comics. I can write a story like this, and man, that story's got a lot of metaphors in it. That Blood Honey book is going to tear a hole in not the industry, but the market. He's going to be rich. And his next book picks on all of the old misogynistic toys. It turns Rainbow Bright into Conan the Barbarian. What a genius level type stuff. He's going to pull $500,000 down within a month as soon as he starts that Indiegogo campaign. Another $500,000 goes probably right into his house payment.
Lewis says, no, the CBLDF is more for people that get arrested over violations of obscenity laws.
That's what I meant. They're protecting the art form. They're not protecting the market.
I just feel like,
I need to post our link. I should have done that to start with.
Oh,
where is that? Weren't you going to send that to me?
Yeah, I can send it right now. Give me 1 second. I'll shoot it over to you.
Yeah, Mike. Okay.
All right, let's see here.
Sure thing, Mike. Oh. Put you down for 2. Sorry, handling business. I guess I've been doing business all show.
Oh, I got
damn caps lock. Who? What?
Got some other news.
Uh-oh.
Our friend Rob Anderson of Indie Advocates was beside himself this afternoon as he learned that MegaCon, which is same week as Motor City Comic Con, May 17th, 18th, and 19th.
And it's in his backyard, isn't it?
Yep. Will not have any indie comic panels. Not a one.
Well, that goes back to your first subject. What the hell do you define as an indie comic?
Well, in his case, they didn't have, he submitted, I forget how many, he said he submitted like a bunch of panel ideas. They didn't accept the one. They didn't accept any of them.
Well,
but
that's that committee working for you.
There's 4 different cosplay panels.
Of course there are.
He's very upset. He did a video about it called "Really MegaCon, Really," and yeah, he's very upset. And I understand why he's upset. That's BS. I think that you got all these people in Artist Alley that are trying to sell their book, and they should be given an opportunity to, have a panel to discuss, how they feel indie comics are important, why they're important, and get people over to their table. If they don't have that, then you're taking their money away for by the table, but you're not allowing them to go in there and try to expose themselves to a new audience outside of sitting at their table all day. I blame Randy. I believe that he set it up. I believe that he didn't want them to have tables.
Wasn't me.
I I've done some panels before, and some of them I've done them in what was an empty room, 4 or 5 people. Then there's been times where I caught a break because the person coming on after me had a pretty huge following. So I had a nice packed room to talk to for an hour. Randy, have you done any panels in the past?
Lots. I've done a lot of panels. MC'd a lot of panels. Talked on a lot of panels. Talked to an audience larger than 3. So it's all good. Sorry, I forgot to post this. Stop by and listen and join in on the chat. Okay.
Yes, join in and have them come in and
just as we're leaving. See ya. Anyway.
Yeah, I like doing panels, but at the same time, I mean, is it a big loss that MegaCon doesn't have panels this year?
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Let the cosplayers have their cosplay panels. Let the independent guys don't like the way they're being treated, start their own con. We just like the dragon problem last time. Oops, sorry. Just like the convention problems we had last time.
Yeah.
Let them start their own show.
Do you think that's what needs to happen? Do you think that's what's going to happen? I think that
Oh yeah.
You said that you believe there's going to be a CG show pretty soon.
Oh no, I know there will be eventually. There will be a big one. These guys are just getting ready. This is the prelude to the ramp up to the fun. Once these books come out, everybody's had almost one round of books. All the big guys so far have had just one round of books. Well, that Florida Man book, when it comes out from Baron and from Bob Hennessy's company, it's going to be big. It's going to be big. They can sell the hell out of that in the mainstream. Once these books get out, once Cyberfrog pops out, you'll see how the market is gonna freak, because one, they don't think he was going to do it. Because of all of the negative BS out there against Ethan. They don't think he's going to do it. He's going to do it. I had that discussion with a couple of the independent publishers. He's going to do it. Once he does it, he's got a company. Once he does his second one, he's got a bigger company. Every book he does is going to expand his company. And he's just going to start he's going to jump from 1 title to 3 titles to 5 titles and he's just going to keep kicking out vanity books. He'll pay for people to do the art. He'll sit there and coordinate them. He'll put his logo in the corner and make a percentage. Just like, look at what Paluto's doing. Paluto's making a nice small cottage industry for himself. He's selling a book, every 3 months? 48-page book. Boom. And he doesn't have to worry about fulfillment. The book's done. He's already paid all of the artists, all of the production people. He's paid for all of the tchotchkes. He went out and had a bunch of stickers printed up that he's warehousing, a bunch of whatever patches or bookmarks or whatever for goal setting. Hey, if we hit 100,000, I'll throw a sticker in. That's only because he's got 5 or 6 boxes of them sitting in the warehouse, or crates or pallets of them sitting in the warehouse. He's already paid for it. All of that money's all getting turned around. The money that's coming through now on all of these Indiegogos are getting turned around on all of these people making their own little cottage vanity publishing houses. And it's just going to explode. And the mainstream has no idea what's about to roll over. I see it coming. Anybody that's outside of the market can see it coming. Anybody inside of the market are still pissed at him for voting for Trump. They're idiots.
Lewis says, Randy and I did a lot of panels at Motor City in the 1990s. We talked about the history of the Comics Co. We talked about what the potential damages that Image Comics are starting, etc. So, Randy, that means in 1990 you saw. I mean, you foresaw some of this. Then you foresaw the damage.
Oh, we always hated Diamond for being a monopoly company. I butted heads with Diamond when I did the second Arrow comics. I was in it with Scott Moore and listed him as the publisher, and one of his main responsibilities was that he handled all of the calls from Diamond. Because back when I was Massive Comics, I did four issues as Massive Comics, and it was a good arrangement, and I made money, a little money, not a lot of money, but more money than you'd make today in the independent market. Did 3 issues of Tales from the Universe and 1 Escapade that was an adult comic book. Mm-hmm. And I sold that adult comic book for $2.95, and at the time comics were like $2. I sold it. I put an extra, some money on it just because it was a adult book, and I made money on it, But always saw this as a problem. We always saw it as the plug being pulled out of a drain of the direct market, and the water was just going down the sink.
And Lewis says that you guys talked about the potential damage that Image Comics were starting.
Well, Image helped destroy the industry because of the Circle template books. That was their problem. They went and turned a market that at the time was going crazy diverse and includes so much so that people don't remember it. I remember it because I was part of it. We were doing Tales from the Universe and Night Streets and Dead World and Realm. Ralph and Stu was really with Arrow Comics. I was just a small part of that. But there was so much other diversity, Samurai Penguin and Troll Lords, and there was some really bizarre, diverse, independent books. Those were independent books, not the crap that comes out. Not the crap come out today. I'm sounding like an old man. Not that stupid crap. Anyway, there was a wide range of diverse and inclusive books that covered a wide range of topics and subjects that nobody wants to remember nowadays because they think Marvel's blazing the trail of diversity and inclusiveness. And it's just BS is what it is. Image come out, and the whole market, because the way the market was set up, Diamond kissed the butt of Image, and Image come out at the perfect storm, right place, right time, with the right product, because they catered it to their whims, to their misogynistic whims, to a set of misogynistic retailers.
Did you guys ever try to? I know you've had some pitch opportunities with Marvel. Did you ever try pitching the Image at all?
No, I burned that bridge easy. I figured out early on that I had burned that pretty hard. Though I did go out and I got out at 5 in the we woke up at Chicago Con when Image premiered. We got up at 4 in the morning. Ralph and the group of us, we had I think we were still doing Arrow 1 at the time. If not, then I was doing Massive. Got up at 4 in the morning to run out to the tent that they had out, the Image tent that they had outside, just to make Rob Liefeld autograph a comic for us at 4 in the morning. Hey Rob, sign this. And there was 3 or 4 people out there because it was 4 in the morning, and these guys were fried out of their minds. But anyway, yeah, it's an experience. When Image came in, all of the black and white stuff dried up. Mm-hmm. That, and there was a lot of abuse on the black and white market at the time from a couple other companies that were printing very, very bad product and convincing retailers to invest in them, because when Turtles come out, any new black and white book that looked remotely stupid got heavily invested in. And there were a lot of guys, a lot of sleazebags out there, because this market has a tendency to attract, But said Ethan says there's nobody in this market that's not mentally damaged. And they have to be in order to want to stay in this market. But there were a few sleazebags out there that started companies that did really sleazy products at a very high cost in black and white, and they soaked as much money out of the retailers as they possibly could right as Image came in. So they were happy to have Image come in because Image was the big boys playing with new toys. And it was all, for the next decade, probably after that, it was all boob books and misogynistic product.
So let's say that I'm a guy that has a book that I want to release today, and I've got it drawn up. I'm going to the cons, but I'm not getting the type of traction that I need. I mean, I've got my banner stands, I've got my book stand, I've got a little
You
pop
see,
figure made of my character.
the whole market is shifting, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to decide where you're going to shift with it. You can do cons, you can get some limited exposure out there, you can hit your neighborhood, or you can do a newspaper that's circulated through the county if you can find enough people to pay for advertising for the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it for 100 issues
Mm-hmm.
and not make any money at it. And you can have the biggest audience. I've got a bigger audience out there. I can still kick out issue 101, and it's going to be read more than any freaking Vertigo title that comes out from DC. And I know that for a fact. When DC's only selling 6,000 and I'm moving 9,000, close to 10,000 of the Flint comics just in my county. And these people can't realize that there's comic readers out there that want to buy entertainment or that want to read comics as cheaply and as entertainingly as possible. And when they're not buying their stuff, it's not because of the retailers or because you've got somebody who's got a website that's complaining about the quality of the comics. It's because the book sucks. If they're not selling enough Squirrel Girl, that's not your boy Zach's fault. Not when he gets berated and attracts enough people to his site to go out and start an Indiegogo campaign and raise $300,000 with the snap of his finger. There's a problem. There's a problem in the system. They just don't want to see.
I think as far as the indie guys are concerned, and this is brought to my attention yesterday. Guy said nobody. The problem with indie comics, he said to me, was that we were on the phone, and he said the indie artists today and the indie creators today, they don't want to draw or create books that are unique and different. They're all fans, and we all are fans. We all are fans, but they are fans that they want to retell the stories that they've enjoyed, and therefore they're going to retell Spider-Man, but instead of it being Spider-Man, this time it's Spider-Man and he's a disabled black guy, or it's Spider-Man and he's a gay black guy. And as I go through some of my comics, indie comics that I've gotten, I see that pattern. I see that they're creating, people are kind of retelling, oh well, this is Batman if he was an Asian immigrant.
But the thing you have to understand, though, is that the market wasn't like that. They're trying to make sales. These people they're trying to sell a book inside of a market that comes with a preconceived notion. You've had so many people over the last 20, 30 years, especially since Diamond's been a monopoly, that have told all of these people, and most of the readers that have come in have narrowed down to that silly little demographic of 30 to 50, mostly male. Mm-hmm. And that's what they produce stuff that they think somebody 30 to 50, mostly males, the independent guys, and that doesn't even hold true either, because some of the guys are doing imitative products in order to make sales. Some of the independent guys are trying to do sales in order to imitate Vertigo that only sells 6,000, or they use the Vertigo talent thinking that they're going to own a property and that becomes the next hot movie. That's image. Valiant's a corporation trying to find the hot movie. That's that's their Bloodshot or whatever they're going to do. Dark Horse has survived for this long because they did movies. That's the way that they look at it. Nobody's respecting. Well, I can't say nobody. Most of these so-called independent publishers aren't respecting the market because they learned not to respect the market from Diamond and Marvel and DC, who went through and have constantly tried to abuse the market every time you turn around.
I agree with that. They don't respect the market. I agree with that.
It's not just that they don't respect the market, but they have constantly gone out and found ways to abuse the market. They take the idea of a variant cover and they turn it into a joke, literally, out there for collectors who are the few collectors that are still out there collecting. Most of it's all left to speculators and eBay. They have to go out and get the hot variant cover in order to throw it up on eBay in order to make money. The retailer has to go out and buy 25 copies of cover A in order to get cover B. And so they charge how much those 25 copies of cover A are, their cost, onto cover B automatically. The value of that book is now 25 copies of cover A.
What do you think, Randy, about, and I'm sure you've gotten this, what do you think about you're on Facebook, you get a friend request from someone, you confirm it, you see that they're interested in comics, they've got art up, you confirm it, and then 5 minutes later you get a, hey, buy my book link.
That doesn't happen to me.
Really?
No.
Count yourself lucky.
No, well, I always go through and I've gotten a lot of friend requests lately, but I don't go through and friend anybody unless I know them or unless they know enough people that I know that I want to hear from. So I probably pass on maybe 2 out of 3 friend requests. Lately, I've been getting a lot of them, and lately it's been a lot of people that I kind of know. But I think that's because Flint Comics is shut down. So I got a lot of local people that are digging me up on Facebook in order to keep track of what I'm doing. Okay. So as soon as I start doing original content up on ZimGeek, again, I start posting that on Facebook. If Facebook will allow their algorithms to let everybody see it, maybe I'll start growing, a larger subscription base to the YouTube channel. We'll see how that works out. But I think that's where that's coming from. But I go through and my page is my page. If somebody wants to friend me, I go through and make sure that they're friends or friends of friends.
Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of anger online about that in the last couple of days. I've seen at least 4 different people make a post about, hey, don't friend me as an artist to artist to sell me your content. That's not how this works. Yeah. And I admit and I agree that it's a bit annoying. It's happened to me. Someone will send me a friend request. I'll accept it. 2 minutes later, they're in my inbox with a link to their Kickstarter.
It's desperate people doing desperate marketing. Mm-hmm. That's all. That's what YouTube's for. Damn it! That's why you talk to each other in the chats. Get enough people listening so that you can start monetizing these things. Or you post your PayPal, address so people can tip you.
Must make money.
Or what you need to do is you need to increase that little Indie Volt thing in the corner. You need to make that twice as big.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can. I got to look into that. I'm not
sure. You need to get that done, buddy.
Yeah.
You need to push that brand as far as it can possibly go.
I was up in your home, your neck of the woods.
And you didn't stop by.
Yeah,
that's okay because I was coloring nature's superheroes.
And something pretty funny happened. I'm in the car and we're driving and we passed right by down the main road by where your street is. I won't say the name because we don't want to get you doxxed. But
buddy, I welcome people to try to dox me. I mean, what can they? I sat and thought about that the other day. About the most they can do is take away a client or two. Yeah. But I'm pretty tied into, I've gotten to the point now where I choose what clients I work for and which ones I don't anyway. So if they don't know me and know my curmudgeon-y ways, So I'm opinionated about my art form. Leave me alone. You know.
We're driving down the main street, and as we keep
In a
driving,
couple of years, I might actually retire. Anyway, go ahead.
and there's a as we're driving, I started seeing like, oh, these really like gorgeous, like well designed buildings.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought you were going to talk about that was Fenton Road or Dort Highway where you see the gorgeous.
Well, what was
That goes back to your little prostitution ring in the conventions. Go ahead. These great buildings.
Chad took us through downtown Flint, and then as we're going through, I'm looking like, wow. And there was a really, really fancy. This is gonna sound funny. There's a really fancy Wendy's over to the left hand side.
I'm just trying to think of where you might be, where there would actually be a fancy Wendy's.
I'm like, wow, look at that. I said, hey, this doesn't look bad. And that's
what you call an oxymoron, son.
I forget what the building was to the right, but then I'm told, oh, yeah, like this is nice. This is, I don't know what people's problem with Flint is, and they tell me this is Grand Blanc.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Welcome to Grand Blanc. Yeah, you passed my house. You drove right by. Yeah. You should have seen. You should have wove at Bigfoot's comments as you drove by.
Yeah,
I still should have stopped in that Walmart and picked up some 100-page Super Spectacular.
Is that where they're all at? Is that where they're hiding them?
You got to find them in the Pokemon card section.
Yeah,
they're right in the front. They're if you're lucky to find any. Usually the pop-up display's completely empty. But they're there. You just got to look for them.
Have you gotten any of those?
I got a few. I got a couple. Pretty much all that whole rack is all Super Spectaculars. Titans 1. Flash 1. Teen Titans 1. Swamp Thing 1. Swamp Thing Halloween Special. Superman 1. I haven't sat down and looked through I don't think I've got the Wonder Woman one, do I? No, Batman. Oh, Justice League. Got a couple Justice League. I don't think I got a Wonder Woman. I should have picked that up. I saw Wonder Woman 1 out, especially now that I know that they've gone through and edited Michael Turner's butts. See, when I was a kid, this is why I get those. When I was a kid, I used to eat those up. They are 60 cents, 75 cents. I still got them in my long boxes over here.
Okay.
Those old original books, those books that I bought when I was a kid, because I wouldn't let them go. I wouldn't let them go for nothing. The covers are ripped, and there's a Justice League Super Spectacular in there that I know is in shreds, literally in shreds, because I loved it. It was the first, my first actual Justice Society story was in one of those Super Spectacular books that I read. And that was awesome. They fought the Justice Society of Evil. The Injustice Society. That's what they called it.
And I've told my mother there was a book about it. And my mother is a big, big Western fan. She loves Westerns. The older, the better. And I
thought she was into stray fantasy one season TV shows.
No. She's all about Westerns. And she keeps trying to get me to do the Rifleman fan art. And I keep explaining to her that's not going to sell. No one knows, besides, if you know who the hell Chuck Connors is.
Well, you saw that Dell Rifleman comic with the suggestive cover, right?
I want to buy one and give it to her.
Yeah. Good luck. That's one of those white rabbits, or white buffaloes.
Yeah.
I was shocked. There was the last cover of the last Marvel family. I finally saw. I'd never seen it before when I was doing my video on the Captain Marvels, and loved it. I thought it was amazing. It's real simplistic, but it's just a crazy cover, especially for their last one. It's about the Marvel family disappearing, and I just happened to mention it to Rick Santman. I'd love to see a Marvel family number. I think it was 89, and Rick goes, right up there. Just picked one up 2 weeks ago. You can't afford it though, but it's up there. Yeah, that was crazy.
In the chat, Dave Brown has come in. Dave the Supreme. How you doing, Dave?
Dave the Supreme.
Lewis says, sure, the friend to sell stuff. I have 1,100 Facebook friends. I posted my Patreon and store envy to about 70 of them. I have a question for you, Randy, and even the chat. Has anybody ever seen there? Well, I mean, have you ever came across your books in a long box at a show for a ridiculous price?
I, I, I was at
A
the
high price.
oh,
A high price.
I was gonna say I was just here at the Flint Comic Con going through guy's set of boxes for 50 cents and found an old Arrow System 7. And I called it to Ralph's attention. He rolled right over and paid for it right away. Just here. I bought in some Tales from the Anniverse out of the dollar boxes before.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them offered for higher prices, and it's like, if you get it, let me know.
The second in Charles by me.
I got a case of them at home. I could be rich.
The second in Charles by my house had a couple of Arrow Comics books. I forget which ones. It's like 2 or 3 of them in their long boxes.
We used to be hot shit, son.
The most that I seen one of my books, a book I created for, was at a con. And I'll tell you how this happened. The gentleman came over to my table and he said, he saw me eyeing a couple variant covers of some Marvel books that he had. And he says, hey, you want to do a trade? This is on Friday night or before the show closes. I'm like, yeah, sure. And it's a small show. Like, we're all in this one room together. Indie vendors. We are in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And he's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And I give him 2 copies of my title, The Psycho Sirens. And the next day I come back and I didn't notice it until about midday. He now has my book on the top shelf, and he has, these self-made, shelving units he's put up with a big lumber piece of wood going across to hold the books up there. And he's got Psycho Sirens up there, issue 1, for $14.
Cool.
I just traded him for like 2 Marvel comics that were out that week. And I was like, wow. And so that was pretty cool to see something that I created up there for, a little bit more.
Did you autograph it?
No, I did not. They weren't autographed. They weren't signed or anything.
No, I'd have had you sign it too. Made a big deal about, autographed by the artist.
Yeah.
$14. Come on.
Let's see. Go ahead.
Welcome to get whatever you can.
Dave said he's just seen Justice paintings for sale. Dave has those really huge paintings. I'm gonna guilt him into doing one for my birthday. It's gonna be awesome. And Lewis says, I see my art book on sale at eBay for like $50 and posted, hello, the artist here. You can skip this and just buy it from me directly for cover price. I have plenty of copies left, LOL.
Yeah. Well, what can you do? You're welcome to try,
I think that's real funny when we find the content that we made. And then I get this rush of anxiety sometimes when I'm going through long boxes at like Second and Charles and hoping like, please don't find my stuff. Please don't find my stuff. I mean, I'll buy it if I do find it in there. But I found
there's some stuff I wish I could find. Give me a Spank #1 for $1. I'd buy that.
I'd
buy that for $1.
I found a coloring book from a friend of mine. I don't want to say his name because he might get embarrassed and upset with me. He works for a company. Their name begins with Z, and they put out a series of comic books and of sexy fairy tale comic books.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they did coloring books,
Yeah.
and his art is in issue 3. A lot of his art is,
Okay.
and every time I'll go to the con, he's my buddy, so I kind of wait for him to give me a deal on the book, like $10. He still wants like 20-25 bucks for the books. I'm like, yeah, I can't pay that. It's $25 for a book, and my wife is gonna want to color in this book.
Hey,
I
dude,
know her. That's how she is.
the CGers get $25 for a book.
They
Right.
do, they do, they do. But this is a coloring book. This is an
Plus
adult coloring
$10
book.
shipping.
And I went to Second and Charles, and there's the book, and their discounted section, $4. I picked it up. I went to the con. I slapped it down in front of him. I signed it. So yeah, I made out.
I'd have bought a bunch of them. Made them
Yeah.
sign them all.
Well, they only had the one. They only had the one.
Stuck them up on eBay for $14 a hit. There you go.
Lewis says, "Hell, Randy knows I sent him box loads of his stuff, and I found the local stores before in the quarter 50-cent bins."
I think that was one box a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I would personally, I don't know, man. If I find my stuff, and sometimes if you find it cheaper, you're like, oh man, like it cost me more to print this book.
Retailer's got to do what he's got to do. If you're in the way and gathering dust, got to do what you got to do. But I'd be happy to buy them back.
Yeah,
that's what Pete Cimetti does with Alterna Comics. He's comics are so inexpensive and low. He just trades them for new product.
I was in a chat with a young lady today. She's got a book from Alterna coming out. I can't think of the name of the book, but yeah, she's got a book with Alterna coming out later this year.
Peter is just on Twitter this morning talking about how there's so many retailers are complaining that $1.50 a book is too low. They can't make enough money on it. What happened to him. Did we talk about? We haven't talked about on the air what they did to him for Free Comic Book Day. Wonderful Diamond Comics.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell them what you know a little bit more about it than I do.
Peter Cimetti's been printing newsprint comics for the last 3 years.
And Randy, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick.
Talking. You can't hold it. No,
I can't. I can't.
Just kidding. Go.
I've been drinking too much energy drink.
We can talk. I'm gonna swap over to the chat though, so that I can see him.
Okay, and go ahead and bring everybody up to speed on Peter.
Peter Cimetti's been doing Alterna Comics for about 10 years. The last 7, the last 3 years, he's been doing a newsprint line, getting it out there and showing it to people. He's had his share of controversy, and because he came up with a social media policy he wanted everybody to follow, where you don't go through and ban, blockchain everybody and everybody's friends. You ban people one at a time that are trolling. So he got into some controversy as far as that goes. But he was still doing newsprint books, and he was constantly butting heads with Diamond, just like I was doing back when I was doing the second version of Arrow Comics. Every time we turn around, Diamond had a new hoop, or something happened, or this happened, or just so many negative experiences. He's been out trying to find alternative distribution. So he's been talking to a lot of retail stores. He's been trying to do his own distribution and servicing of some of these stores where he's offering a buyback program. So a retailer can invest, they buy 5 copies of his book and they only move 2 or 3. They can return, send back the other copies, and then he'll trade them equally for equal value for more content for them to put in their stores to sell. And he'll probably, I think he said he picks up the postage in exchange. And a lot of that saves him from having to go back and reprint titles that he's selling out of. Well, he's been moving product. He's been moving a lot of product the last couple of years because of the attention he got from his social networking policy and the amount of uproar that brought him. And he became as chastised as a lot of these Comicsgate guys did. In fact, they even had somebody swat him send the cops to his house saying that he was suicidal and, ready to kill himself. But fortunately, he knew the officers, and the situation was kind of handled. But in the meantime, he's literally added just about a zero to the amount of product that he's moving over the last year. So all of this publicity has really turned out to be good. I told him when this first sprung up to hang with it, to hang with the negative publicity, because that means more people are going to know about your product and you're going to come out way ahead. In the long run, you'll be moving more stuff. And that's exactly what ended up happening. But Peter's been doing some really good work, and he's been busting his butt in order to get out there and find different venues and different avenues of distribution. In fact, he does a ICYMI comic there where he's reprinting books and having them distributed to the newsstand under an IC. It stands for In Case You Missed It. That he's been reprinting stuff at a low cost, and he's been getting newsstand distribution out there in front of airports and a few select newsstand venues that aren't comic retail shops. He's been dealing with the retailers themselves. He's been trying to do a lot of different things. He's done a couple of crowd sharing or crowdfunding campaigns that have been just amazing. Like over Halloween, he was offering, I think it was 50 comics for $50.
Okay.
That clears out his warehouse, plus he throws in a canvas bag, plus a couple of pins, plus even a little piece of Play-Doh in a plastic bag so that you can press the Play-Doh up against his newsprint comics and have the ink come off onto the Play-Doh. So
I know he was doing hats for a while too, right?
Oh no, he's got hats. He's got hats and beanies, and he's doing whatever he can in order to get his brand out there, which is amazing. But yeah, he was saying just today that he's heard from a lot of retailers that hey, he would do a 32-page book and charge $1.50 for it because he's printing it in newsprint. So he was probably, spending a whopping 25 cents, 26 cents into each unit and selling it for $1.50 through the news, through Diamond. And Diamond's constantly been giving him hassles. Well, he had a bunch of titles he was going to have out in time for Free Comic Book Day. In fact, he had them to Diamond's warehouse, I guess, a week or two ahead of time. And conveniently, Diamond lost his shipment. So over Free Comic Book Day, there was absolutely no new alternative product out there on the stands. And that, really, he's got a couple of videos up there where he talks about how convenient it was that Diamond lost his stuff. So, which I told him doesn't surprise me, in that the two of us need to do a chat one of these days real soon so that we can compare notes of the stuff that they used to do to me back in the 90s and 2000s compared to some of the crap that he's had to deal with as far as Diamond is concerned today. But that's a whole nother can of worms.
Well, Randy, I do want to get into one story of yours.
So anyway, before you change subjects, what I was going to say is he was complaining retailers saying that $1.50 is too low. So he's like going, hey, how about 80 pages or 100 pages for $4.99? I can do that.
All right.
So that's been an interesting topic of discussion.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
And you and I talked about this very briefly. Back in, was it the 90s? You and a few people were attempting to get a distribution network together.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it wasn't really me. I wasn't the one that was spearheading it, but the guy that was doing it had his heart in the right place. He got a lot of product from me as Arrow Comics and a lot of product from Gary as Caliber. Stashed him in his basement, and not too long after that, the basement flooded really good. Yikes. So there's a whole case of Spank #1s that went to the flood. So, which was kind of depressing, but anyway. Yeah, we had. He was doing his own distribution company. He was going to be an independent company. He was going to house them out of his basement because he had a big basement, even though it was floody. Mm-hmm. He'd have probably gone into a storage shed, just like what Alterna works out of. But he went around and started contacting some of the independent publishers at the time, and they all started coming back with the same story. Well, we don't want to jeopardize our relationship with Diamond. And it was almost the same words. You know, the exact same verbiage.
Mm-hmm.
So we figured out once we hit Antarctic and bumped into Ben Dunn, and Ben Dunn, you know, backed down with the exact same words that the last, you know, 5 or 6 guys whose company starts with an A told them, that Diamond had gone around, called these people. Hey, we found out there's a new distributor springing up. You really don't want to go with those people because you don't want to sacrifice your working relationship with us. So it was nothing that we could prove. That's just an allegation, you know, an alleged allegation. There's nothing that we can back that up with, but it sure was suspicious that they were all using the exact same lines, you know, when they were backing out on us.
So what's odd to me is that, okay, Diamond doesn't want the indie business, but they don't want anybody else to have it either.
Well, apparently they want the indie business now because the indie business is the same as the mainstream business. Because the mainstream business is selling so few that they're starting to pay more attention to the independent guys. But you still have to be out there for a while and kiss their butt in order for them to take you on, though.
How long? Well, okay, when we say the indie guys, let's just say let's say that includes the CG guys.
We should just call them the small press guys. The CG guys is a whole nother matter. I don't know what they're going to do with them. It'll be real interesting to see how they handle that. But right now, the CG guys are making so much money selling direct that they don't care about Diamond. They've said that. They don't care about Diamond. They care very little for the retailers. I mean, they feel their plight, but they care, you know, even less about conventions, because they're realizing that they're getting more people watching them on their YouTube channels and doing chats like what we're doing here,
mm-hmm.
than what they would contact at a typical show.
I have a question for you.
And they can do it right out of their basement. They don't have to pay for a room or expenses or a table or nothing.
If I'm a retailer today, I want to get in on the ground floor with some of these books that are selling hundreds of thousands of dollars of copies.
Uh-huh.
Would it be smart business for me as a retailer to do what retailers are doing for a while with Marvel and DC, which is reach out to an artist and get a special store variant made? And do you think the CG guys will be willing to do that?
They probably would, depending upon the person, but they don't really see the need for it right now because they're hauling in so much money. They don't have to think about doing any type of spectacular sales, gimmicky kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them don't care for variant covers. Now, Ethan's gone through and made a deal with Dynamite that he's going to buy a certain amount of some of the Dynamite product and stick a Cyberfrog with that character on a cover and
right.
sell directly. So there'll be a couple of thousand, you know, exclusive variants that he'll have. But he's doing that as a side investment and as a way to get Cyberfrog out in front of people that might not know yet that he exists.
I think that, I mean, if I'm a retailer, I'm trying to reach out to anybody, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of the sales are, you know, 3 or 4, 5 books from retailers.
There's the wife.
Hello.
That's yeah. I'm behind on I'm watching the YouTube feed so that I can read the chat. That's why Varian's mouth is moving even though he's not talking.
I got us a room. I don't know if you want to go there, but I got us a free room for the night.
Cool.
At Soaring Eagle. I know I'm shocked because it's Mother's Day.
Yeah. Probably shouldn't have said that on the camera, but it's all good. I'm all for it.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, just lining up a little escape. That's all.
No problem. Well,
I'm done with the trail. I did the sign. Sign's colored.
I wonder if...
Yes, I did. It's in the dryer. Sorry. Hey, everybody knows our business. Here we go.
I wonder if some of those retailers would be willing to? How many retailers went and bought 4 or 5 copies of some of those books for their store?
There are a lot of the CG guys are doing levels where they offer a retail package of 10 books for a cost.
Okay.
The big thing with these books, though, the crazy thing with these books is that the minute that they're shipped, the minute somebody the minute these books are done with their fulfillment, the books go up in value.
Yeah.
Because they're rare and not enough people are going to get them, because a lot of these guys are still under the belief that all of these guys are bigots and racists and white supremacists and blah, 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 because that's what the market wants you to believe, blindly follow. So a lot of these products, especially the better made products, are going to leap up in value because most of the guys bought 1 or 2 copies,
Mhm.
So you're seeing, I think it's Graveyard Shift that sold for $25. John Malin's book is 100, 108 right now on eBay, something like that. I don't know. I haven't gone up there and checked because I don't plan on selling any of these books, not for quite a while. Any of the books that I've bought,
Now, Randy, we talk about the people that you've met a couple of people who have. Did you get a chance to meet Harvey Picar?
Very quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Harvey, Eastman and Laird.
Long story.
Okay.
Buddy, when we get rich, when these characters take off, we're bringing you with us. Yeah, okay. That worked.
Like, are there any copies? Like, do you wish you had a copy, or maybe you do? Do you have any early TMNT books?
If you look in the when they did the individual specials, they did a Donatello special that I mentioned in the inside front cover.
Really? Okay.
As a thank you. Yeah, we were bumming around conventions and met these great guys, that kind of thing. They mentioned us then, but they didn't, Back when they were doing turtle crossovers with everything, I sent them a potential crossover with the Turtles and Aniverse that they sat on for too long by the time they got around to answering me, and they actually told me that they had done too many crossovers. That was their reply, but by that time I'd stopped printing Aniverse again anyway. That was back during the Massive days. So
I just, because I like couple weekends from now, I'm going to get a chance to meet, talk with for a while. Maybe not very quickly, Jim Lee.
Keep talking. I'm gonna shut my camera off for a second, my microphone, and laugh.
And I got a chance to get pictures with James Obar, Michael Turner, and now I'm gonna try to get a picture with Jim Lee. I'm kicking myself that I didn't get a picture of Frank Cho and Neil.
You're gonna get a picture with Michael Turner? That'll be great.
I've got a picture of Michael Turner already.
That's that dead con I keep hearing about.
No, that all the cons lately are dead. No, no, I got a picture with Mike Turner. I got a picture with James Obar back when I was much thinner. And
I don't have very many pictures with guy. I took a sketchbook around a few years ago, and well, for quite a few years, and anybody that I found that I really liked and respected, I had them either do a drawing or write their name on the inside front cover. That was back before they started charging for these autographs. So that's how long ago it was.
I was at
I got Neil Adams for free.
I was at a show. I was at oh gosh, was it Wizard World? It was in Motor City. Can't remember what it was, Motor City. And Frank Cho and Neil Adams were standing they're walking through Artist Alley, just walking through early in the morning because the show hadn't opened. And I was one of the first ones there. And me and my wife tend to get to the shows very early. They're walking through, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Frank Cho and Neil. And I really wanted to run up to them like, guys, listen, can I just get a selfie with you two? Because I really want to take a selfie and just post it to Facebook, like, what I did this morning, and just hanging out with, Frank Cho and Neil Adams.
Hanging with some friends. Yeah.
Is there anybody that you kind of wish you had a chance to meet? Because I would love to have
Oh,
met
dude,
Harvey
there's-
Picar.
There's a ton of people. Well, Picar was very standoffish. He was kind of sitting behind his table like this the whole show. Yeah, okay, buy my book. Thank you, bye. You know, that was the same convention I met and got to talk to Crumb more than I did Picar, and got a few autographs from him. And he was okay.
Was Joyce with him?
Huh?
Was Joyce with him?
Not that I remember. Him and Picar were hanging around.
Okay.
They were sharing a table.
Okay.
But that was back when, just Image had just kicked out and everybody wanted to see Jim Lee. And here's this guy named Crumb and this other guy named Picar sitting at this table.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how that went. But as
right.
far as wanting to meet people, oh yeah, but there's so many, looking back on it, there's so many opportunities that I passed on of people that I should have talked to that I'm really a little ashamed and regretful.
Mm-hmm.
I never, outside of saying hi to Kirby, I never said much to him. I would have loved to have done it. And I was at a couple shows that he was at. I sat at a New York show that one time that I was back to back to Lee Falk, the creator of Mandrake, the Magician, and the Phantom, that I would have loved to have turned around and at least tapped him on the shoulder and shaken his hand and told him that I respected his work. That's a big regret. But that's one of the reasons I was carrying that sketchbook around and getting autographs from people, was so that I could actually have met these guys, told them I appreciated their stuff, and could they please sign my sketchbook. And then they'd kind of wince or look at me funny until I opened the cover, and they'd look at some of the signatures and they'd see that I was serious, and they would sign. And I got the majority of those guys that are on those covers aren't even around anymore.
Yeah.
So
I've as much as you say Image may have destroyed the industry, or helped destroy the industry,
just the art form. Just they really kept the circle template business rolling. Because
are there any conventions?
Back then you used to draw stuff by hand. Anyway, what?
Are there any conventions that have done promoters? Conventions that have done damage to the community or to the industry?
No, not really. I mean, you've got, everybody's got their percentage of really good guys and really great people and really sleazy people. It's just everything's different. The conventions are starting. I think they're starting to wear out their usefulness. That's why, especially when it comes to comics and independent creators. So they need to up their visibility, up their brand, and find ways of doing that in order to get out under people's noses. Because, man, once Marvel and DC collapse, it's going to be Wild West all over again. And a lot of that's going to be right here on YouTube.
I think a lot of indie people are going to be in trouble. I think if
I think they're already. I think they've been in trouble since the 80s. They've been in trouble since Diamond became a monopolistic distributor to the retail shops. And technically, they're not monopolistic because they distribute magazines, and there's enough magazine distributors out there. Yeah. It's somebody who didn't understand the market that made that. Made that claim, made that ruling. But this whole market has been on a steady down. We mentioned that at the start of our conversation. It's been draining down a very, very thick drain. It's a very thin drain. It's just taken a little while for the water to reach panic level. And a lot of these guys are panicking. I think the next few years, you're going to see a big shuffling off, especially, heaven forbid, if there wasn't a Netflix and a bunch of streaming services popping up and a bunch of video stations looking for content, where would the comic market be if we didn't have these independent guys out there trying to push the next big Hollywood deal? If they were just out there doing funny books, they wouldn't be there because there's no money to be made in it. With a lot of these mid-range mainstream companies wouldn't exist if they didn't think that they weren't going to make a Hollywood deal.
Right. Yeah, I mean, people are focused on they're super focused on that Hollywood getting that movie. In fact, some of them are putting themselves into their companies.
And the sad thing is they're not looking for that. The Hollywood's not looking for that. They're looking for original ideas that they can capitalize on cheaply and make a ton of money off of. They're not looking for the next Spider-Man. They're looking for the next incredibly large icon that's got instant recognition ability. You know, or a property that they can do a low budget movie on and make money off of.
Speaking of indie characters and indie icons, Hellboy has officially flopped. It lost $84 million.
Well, that's what they want to, the bookkeeping wise, yeah.
I mean, because it cost $50 million to make, but give or take, another $50 million to market. Brought in just about, I think, 21 million. The theaters will keep about 7 million. Studio makes 14. So all in all, about 84 million is what it lost.
And why did that happen?
I don't know. Some people say poor marketing.
Really?
Some people are saying poor marketing. I don't know. I have no idea what happened. I was planning on seeing it. It came out. I know that bumping the release date didn't help it, but I mean, it wasn't like they bumped it last minute. You still had time to go plan. I don't know. Do you have any theories as to what caused that poor movie to?
Well, for one, their marketing blew to start with. Their marketing was horrible, but their biggest mistake was they didn't put Ron Perlman in that, as Hellboy. I think that's their largest mistake. If they'd have said, "Hey, Ron Perlman's coming back. We're calling it Hellboy 3 or 4," they'd have more than made their money back. They tried to reboot when people are tired of reboots. People don't want to see the same crap over and over and over and over again. You know, that's why the Marvel movies have to get more spectacular. That's why Star Wars has to pick up their freaking act and do something different, original, unique, and entertaining. Is because everybody said, "Oh, there's a new Hellboy movie coming out." Okay. What's it gonna be? Well, it might be a reboot of the first movie. It's a whole new reboot. Oh, here is after the performance of the last Hellboy movie. Didn't need a reboot. Just some greedy people trying to cash in. Didn't need a reboot. They shouldn't have done it. Just like Solo, the Star Wars movie nobody asked for. Nobody wanted to see that. If they'd have done a Lando Calrissian movie, it would have been different. Completely different. They could have gotten away with Danny Glover then. He was a big name actor. If they'd have not done Solo and done Lando, and maybe bookended it with Billy D talking about his past, it made a ton of money. Would have made a ton of money. They were doing products nobody wanted to see. No, who wanted to see? Well, what'd you do?
I've gone to the calendar.
Nobody wanted to know about the crazy band of rebels that stole the plans for the Death Star before New Hope happened. They were lucky to get the money out of Rogue One that they did, because that movie blew. Writing wise, it was horrible. So
here's Hellboy. May 6th was its bout. Was it? Oh, that's as of May 6th.
That's an ouch.
Was April 12th.
Yeah.
So
that movie's only made 21 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. On a $50 million budget.
Yep. And you know what? It's probably, from what I understand, it's a competent film.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen? It's going to show up on a streaming service. Somebody's going to, people like you or I are going to be insomniac, can't go to sleep. They're going to turn on the channel. What? Hellboy's coming on. Oh, I'll sit and watch that. And suddenly, boom, we've lost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because it's a great movie.
And check this out right here. It opened on 3,303 screens.
Which is somewhat impressive.
Yeah, I mean, Avengers is like on 4,400.
Oh, no, dude. They said they started at 44, but it was 48 by the time they were done, because a lot of these theaters bumped movies like Hellboy. Who was the Big Losers? Was the French horror movie that had a French sounding title, and Shazam. Those two movies got bumped really hard so that these theaters could show more Endgame and make more money. And it's been like that the last 2 weeks. Hellboy was one of those casualties.
So April 12th, it opened with 3,303 theaters.
And it pretty much dropped out as soon as Endgame started, didn't it?
Before Endgame. I guess April 26th.
Came out on the 27th.
Yeah.
So they went, they there you go. They literally went from 3,303 theaters down to 927.
Yeah. Making about $102 per theater.
That's because the theaters had to make a choice and they ditched the lower selling movies that they had on hand in order to show more Endgame.
And as of yesterday, you want to read that number?
179.
179 theaters.
It'll get down to one streaming service. Netflix will probably run it. Netflix.
Hellboy's an indie book. It's an indie comic.
So
we should be mourning. It's
no, there was a Hellboy, something like a Hellboy 3, right? That they tried to do animated wise. It just tanked really bad. Really, I think that's why they dumped Ron Perlman.
Yeah,
that's what cost them. You know, if they hadn't have done that and they announced that they were doing the next Hellboy movie with Ron Perlman, they'd have made their money back. They'd have made their money back. You can't reboot a property like that and expect people to go and see it. I mean, you think you can because, hey, the first Hellboy movie cleaned up. No, it's not the way it works anymore.
And here we go with Endgame, which is just...
And like I said, the big thing with this is that it's done. Everybody's going, well, I've watched the other 22 movies. I guess I'll go see this one too. Oh, it was really good. Well, that's cool. You know, the thing that's saving the MCU right now is that Spider-Man trailer, because that Spider-Man trailer looks awesome.
Yeah.
That genuinely kicks ass. And it's like, oh, well, okay. I guess I'll go see that one too.
Have you heard some of the detractors?
Why?
That are against
Spider-Man?
Against Endgame, taking all of these...
Disney won't let those people have any voice.
Well, they're saying...
They'll go through and they'll cancel their Facebook pages, make them disappear. They'll snap them out of existence.
They're saying that... And you see, Avengers officially knocked down Titanic, and it's on its way.
Yeah, they did that on Monday. They knew that yesterday.
They're saying that it's not fair. Avatar made its money, and it got to be #1 movie ever. Number one worldwide gross, highest worldwide gross. With one movie, it took Avengers Endgame 22 movies to do that. That's the qualifier they're attempting to use.
Oh, you know, trollers got to troll. That's what that is. People unhappy with the figures, just going through. What I tell everybody is, you know, Endgame is it. This is the epitome. This is the peak for Disney for the MCU. Now they're going to have to go higher than that. Let's see that happen.
Oof.
There might be some awesome movies coming up, or there might be some total dog duds. We'll just have to wait and see.
When do you predict? Do you have any predictions of when they'll take over?
Who?
Endgame. When they'll knock Avatar out? Do you think it'll be this week or?
No. It'll probably be a couple of weeks, but they will do it eventually. They'll steamroll over it. They'll go however long it took Avatar. They'll do it in half the time. To get up to that rate. They'll break 3. I don't have any doubt that they'll break 3. Oof. Easy. They'll probably do closer to 3.5. Once it's all done. It's still got there's nothing coming out next that I'm aware of next couple of weeks that's remotely big. So they're gonna
Lion King.
Dude, there's nothing coming out next couple of weeks that's remotely big. They're just going to steamroll over it. And everybody's seen Lion King already.
Yeah, Aladdin.
Everybody's seen Aladdin already. They just haven't seen Will Smith pretend he's Robin Williams. That's all. You know, he was on Kelly. I'm sorry, I actually saw a little bit of it. Kelly and Ryan this morning. He's got the round cheeks now. He gained some weight for that. So you can tell he's all, hey, I was the genie. Okay, well, there you go. Big shoes to fill. And again, Lion King and Aladdin, both movies, nobody asked them to make. Just like Mary Poppins. Who wants to see a sequel to, hey, kids, you want to see a sequel to Mary Poppins? No. Mary who? Mary who? Mary what? Oh, well, that's some chick riding an umbrella. Okay. Is that like Doctor Who? Her little bag's like a TARDIS.
Please don't make us watch, sir.
I don't need it yet, and you don't need a 40-year-old male to tell you what's wrong with A Wrinkle in Time. That was Disney's other big movie. Their marketing is horrible. The only reason they keep doing live action versions of all of their cartoon movies is because they don't want to take a chance on anything remotely original. So they're going through and remaking all of the stuff they made money on.
They used to have on here, and I'm probably not looking in the right place. They used to have a versus column, and
maybe Disney had them take it down. Probably did.
But they would do movies head to head, like here's this movie versus that
Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Who asked for that movie? Only Universal, because they needed to sell the amusement park. They still made money on that. People, that's because, as Julia Schwartz will tell you, dinosaurs and giant gorillas sell.
Yeah. So there's all the Avengers movies together.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what there's no production budget available for Infinity War. I'm wondering if Disney did
They rolled it into Endgame.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering when they rolled it in Endgame.
It was all one great big production budget, with Disney going, just make the movie. Just make the movie. We're gonna make money. Just make the movie. Do what you have to do. At least they didn't fire the director 85% into the movie. And bring in Ron Howard in order to try to save it at the last minute.
And it's really messed up, because you look at this, but so
I feel sorry for Ron Howard.
Yeah,
he probably could direct a hell of a superhero movie.
In release, Avengers is in release for 22 weeks. Age of Ultron 23 weeks. Infinity War 20 weeks. So far, any games have been in theaters for 2 weeks. And yikes, that's a lot of money.
Well, like I said, it's the ultimate climax for everything, dude. It's gonna make money. If Captain Marvel will pull down $1 billion, Endgame's gonna pull down $3 billion. Real easy. Just no question. That, like everybody's saying now, let's see what Captain Marvel 2 does. That's going to be the true test, because that movie had better be awesome. Or else it might end up being like Solo.
And here's an unfair showdown.
What?
Star Wars, Avengers versus Star Wars, which I mean, it isn't. I mean, I guess it's still a showdown, but it's all Disney now. So, that Force Awakens number is pretty good, though.
Well, it takes them a couple of movies for people to realize that this written by committee stuff is garbage.
Yeah,
that's all. That and the wondrous, Ryan Johnson. They're really worried about 9. I mean, they're worried sick about 9 because of Ryan Johnson and Last Jedi, because they made so many stumbles and so many guffaws and ticked off so many fans.
I can't hear the name Ryan Johnson without hearing insults. So
yeah, well, that's why they stopped all of the other movies. Everything's done after 9. Done. There's not going to be another Star Wars movie in the theater for at least 3 years. Because of this mistake that they've done, because it's cost them so much in merchandising, it's cost them so much in lost production time, it's cost them so much in just in prep time for all of these movies. They had a set of movies in the pipe that they had the next 3 or 4 movies that were already in production. Iger come in, put a dead stop to it as soon as the solo numbers come out. Just stop it.
I want to play a little, a real quick. I don't. It's not a lightning round, but what's a project you're particularly proud of that you've created? Well, actually, I'll give you 2 projects. Between The Fool and Spank, which one would you like to see made into a film?
All depends on how much creative control I have over it.
Okay, so you
Because
like to maintain some.
Spank is me, especially when I was younger.
Mhm.
The Fool is my answer to the Punisher. So
Well, okay, so let's say the Fool was to be optioned today. Who do you want directing it?
I don't know. They'd have to be funny. They'd have to be
Mhm.
a really good comedy director.
Were you looking at somebody like Taika Waititi from Thor Ragnarok, or
That would be dream casting probably.
who would you want to play the Fool? Any actor?
No, nobody I know of. It'd have to be an unknown.
You know when
It'd have to be an unknown with a heavy experience in acrobatics and martial arts.
see, you know what's funny is when I read it the first time, I thought to myself, "This is Jim Carrey," and it's earlier.
Yeah,
Younger.
and it's in the prime of his in the prime of his career, maybe. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I didn't write it with Jim Carrey in mind. He was always the Fool was always meant to be an enigma.
Okay.
You're never going to see them take the mask off or the tie with the 2 holes in it. Just never see it. I would like to adapt. I've got a screenplay off of Fool 1 that's written. Runs 120, I think 120, 124 pages.
Mhm.
Something like that. That I'd have to update the humor on it because a lot of it was topical and a lot of media references in Fool 1 would go right over the heads of the youth
When did you write it?
back in 80s, I think, late 80s. No,
Okay.
not late 80s, probably early 90s, 91, 92.
Did you write it because there was interest in the film, or you just wrote it because you wanted to have it ready?
Oh, the screenplay?
Yeah.
No, I did that a few years after Fool 1 come out. We were going to film it. We had a guy ready to go. That this was back in 2000 and maybe around 2000 or so. I sat down and adapted it into a screenplay. So, and in fact, it's on a floppy disk, a 3.5 inch disc. The screenplay is.
It's lost forever.
I should pull it up and print it out. Just it's the same thing with the. I wrote that before I wrote the treatment for the Mischievous animated film, the first one. So it was before that. But as far as being proud of products, the biggest thing that the writing wise is War of the Worlds. I would say that I'd love to see adapted one of these days. I think I think it would be a really good story. It makes a good movie. It still holds up in my mind, and I'm probably my own worst critic. A lot of the Spank stuff is dated. Plus I stopped being that angry for a while, and then you showed me diversity in comics, so it's all your fault. But other than that, there's a lot of stuff that I've done that I would really love to see in comic form. That's part of my bucket list that I want to do. That I'd like to see filmed. I wouldn't mind seeing a Tales from the Anniverse animated cartoon, but nobody would make it because nobody wants to take that kind of a chance. Oh yeah, look at you.
Yeah, there's a Fool. And I like his design. I think that would have been a great live action.
Oh yeah, it would have. It would have been good, really good. It still would make a good series. I think you'd just, like I said, you'd have to refashion it. He needs a rogues gallery that I never developed in order to go on. I'd still do it as a regular series.
Now,
If anybody were to walk up, ask me to do that or The Unforgiven, I'd jump at it.
Is that Flint behind him?
Yeah,
Did you take
that's
that
an old
picture?
photo of Flint.
Are you the photographer or?
I think Ted took that picture.
Okay.
My publishing partner, he jumped out on, because I'm not that foolish. He jumped out onto the ledge of the like third or fourth story of the Masonic Temple and leaned over and took the shot down Saginaw Street.
Okay.
That's why the church is right there, right next to him.
Okay. That looks pretty cool. I like it. I thought,
That, like I said, that first issue holds up real well. I could go through and re-dialogue that and put it out there. Chris Tyson, who did the artwork on that, who didn't do much anything else that I'm aware of, was really a talent, and he could have done a lot of stuff. He could have been a pretty big professional, but a lot of these big, hugely talented guys don't get to stick in the comic market because they have to go out and make a living.
Yeah, and some of them end up doing
Some people, it just gets in the blood and they don't care how much money they make. That's the independent market right there. That in the hopes that they get discovered by Hollywood. But yeah, I got to sit down and do a bunch more writing. There's a lot more that I want to get done. There's a lot more I want to do. Like I said, I got a bucket list. So there's a lot more. I think that the market is really viable right now for more War of the Worlds stuff. Real easy. Definitely want to do that spank on the comic market thing. I'd love to redo Unforgiven, but I think I would like to do Hero Herd instead. That's a funny animal team of superheroes that I've got that I'd like to work up. I think that could be good. I really think I want to do something for Alterna, whether I'm writing or drawing or doing both or whatever. I would like to do something for Peter because I respect him a lot. He's one of the few publishers out there that I really, really want to work with. I would love to do a book with Alterna up in the corner. That would be an honor at this point because I admire what he's been doing so much.
Yeah, he's
That's my next goal now that I'm past these trail signs, is to start doing maybe get in with him on a live chat and talk to him for a little while.
Maybe we can get him on Indievo. We can have him come slum with us down here.
We need to get on his channel because he at least gets 300 people.
Yeah,
we're lucky if we get 35 views.
Yeah.
At least there's still 5 people watching now. So thank you to your other 3, Lewis, Dave, and probably
Ted. I told him Ted's getting ready to sign off, but yeah. He sent me a message. But what's funny is that what I need to, and I keep forgetting to do, is strip the audio out of a lot of these videos and place them on Indievo Radio. And if I did that, I noticed that our views go up. You might remember when I would take your Flint, your History of Comics videos, strip the audio out and put it on Indievo Radio with a link. Then we can go here or there.
Yeah, you need to do that more often. That's yeah.
And we're getting a lot of, because
Lewis, let me answer some questions here. Rumors. Lewis said, where was it? Lewis wants to see a War of the Worlds series. I would do that as long as it was a series of short, like every season, like American Horror Story, where we could tell a different story from a different aspect, or a different character. That would be fun. Different location. Are you still there, Varian?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Dave the Supreme asks, what's Unforgiven? Unforgiven was a property that I did that had 1 issue printed from Mythic Comics way back when. That was a superhero epic story about a planet that was all superheroed out pretty much, and a girl who was a mystic who ended up getting a hold of a book that she wasn't supposed to get a hold of, and she ends up making a group of supervillains multiversally aware, and they jump Earths, and then she has to go chase after them. Yeah, Lewis said Unforgiven was a superhero series Randy did back in 2000, where the heroes from another universe are all superpowered beings to our world where there's no superpowered beings. That kind of encapsulates it, but there's a lot more to the story than that. The lead character was the only one who could jump the earths, and she ends up taking a whole team of heroes with them and spirits in like little globes, and then implants them into the analogs of the human counterparts on the other world.
Is
on
that
the
in
other dimension.
Zimtales?
Who what?
Is that one? That's in Zimtales as well.
Yeah,
right?
that's in Zim Tales. Yep, Zim's
Are you-
Heroic Tales.
Are you ever thinking about reprinting that?
I should. I really should. Maybe I'll offer it around, and I might do a slight reworking of it and offer some of the properties around. Like I said, if I were to have the Fool printed again, I'd want to go through and change the dialogue and up the humor a little bit more. But Unforgiven still stands up too. Everybody that reads it says that that's the best thing I've written. It still holds up real well.
I told you I want the spark. I've got to come over. I got an idea for a story.
You should have had it 3 years ago, back when we were rolling hard with Flint Comics. You could have put it in there.
Yeah.
I ran it.
I should have. But now we could do a comic.
Should have, would have, could have.
I could do a comic now. Yeah.
You know, Dave, I'd show you what Unforgiven looked like. It was drawn by Gary Thomas Washington, who was another one of those talents like Chris Tyson. I always liked these guys who have their own individual styles, and Gary was amazing. And I have no idea what he's doing now. Last I heard, he was working for UPS, but I have no idea what he's doing anymore. But he was very, very talented, just like Chris Tyson, and it had a unique look to it, a unique style. So I was very happy with that product. I'd probably have to do, if I kept the story rolling. I saw Unforgiven as kind of a really big superhero fight book more than anything. It would be very rough and tumble and really an epic kind of story. But there was also a lot of ethical questions that were brought up in it too that I really enjoyed. So I'd love to explore it more.
Lewis says, like I said to you before, Randy, Unforgiven is the launch book. Then the New Breed retool to fit that setup.
Oh, New Breed is a property that I was going to pitch to Marvel that I refashioned.
Yeah, that one. So and stop me if I'm giving away too much, but that one was going to feature young characters with Cap as the trainer, right?
No, U.S. Agent.
U.S. Agent, that's right. Yeah.
I was back during when they had U.S. Agent and Thunder Strike, and when War Machine was brought in. Yeah, that would have been good. That would have been fun. I'd have called it the either the Young Allies or the Young Americans if I did it with Marvel. Probably the Young Allies, because the Timely had a Young Allies book back during World War II.
Was that the meeting where they didn't know what they owned, or was that?
Oh no. That I pitched that to anybody that would look at it through the Zim's Heroic Tales book. But
okay, I was going to ask, is that the one where Shooter had you removed out the building at gunpoint? Now?
Had what?
Is that the one where Shooter had you removed out the building at gunpoint?
No. I never came to blows with Shooter. Shooter, I always had my respect. I liked what he did during the time, even though he had some Me Too problems back when he was running Marvel.
No, really?
Wait, yeah, but that's all grapevine and innuendo kind of stuff. But a lot of people had a few Me Too complaints about Shooter during that period.
But
what I pitched was to Axel and to Stuart Moore, and
okay.
Stuart Moore was the one that looked at the property and had no idea that they even owned it. And Axel read one of my proposals and wouldn't give me the time of day after I made a snide remark back at him. So,
you hear about a lot of these guys and work at Marvel.
I looking back on it, I have always found all of my near misses to turn out to be pluses. So it's a good thing that none of that ever happened. I'm really happy I never took the internship. I'm pretty happy that that the other deals with Marvel never came through. There's a lot of publishers I got really close to working with that turned out to be major scumbags.
So okay. Uh,
That I didn't work for.
They're hanging off a cliff. Somehow you got three. You got three of them hanging.
What?
You got DeFalco, Harris, and Brevoort.
Harris, I've never had any communication with.
Mm-hmm.
Quesada knows who I am. We've gone out to dinner a couple times back before he became big. And he's always seemed to be a nice guy. But I never pitched a property to him or never had, never chummied up with him. Hey, buddy, I need to work with you. Alonzo, like I said, looked at my stuff and passed on it. DeFalco, well, at the time, and it might have just been the time of day, but DeFalco was an ass.
Mm.
And I pitched a property to him, and he didn't even read it. He just looked at it and poo-pooed it and gave me a couple of snide, nasty remarks, and left.
And Brevoort, you ever met him at all?
I have. I've met Brevoort before. He was okay. Back when I met him. He was back when I was pitching properties. He told me to go talk to the lower editors. Go talk to these other guys. Go talk to Axel and go talk to Stewart. Don't talk to me about this. So
and
he wasn't in that. He was higher up than that at that point.
And I can't believe I'm forgetting. I'm drawing blanks on names lately. I don't know what's going on with me.
But Shooter, I never pitched anything to. I've said hello and shaken his hand with him. I think I know I've got his signature in my sketchbook. So
the I can't think of her name. Editor at DC. Annette? No.
Who? The Dio?
No, the lady.
Jeanette Kahn. Never met her.
Never met her. Okay. Right.
No, got to talk to Julie Schwartz for quite a while.
Okay.
That was good, and got him to sign my sketchbook. So,
but
other than that, the Will Dennis was the I believe his name was Will Dennis, was an editor up at Vertigo when I almost placed a title with him, and then he took it back to Karen Berger, who automatically dismissed it just on the name of the title. Didn't bother to read the proposal.
Lewis said Quesada flat out lied to my face about a Cloak and Dagger pitch when he was just the Marvel Knights co-editor with Palmiotti, and told me, quote, I would never use those characters in the MK lineup, the Marvel Knights lineup.
Well, you got to remember, Quesada also claimed that Avengers was the word Avengers as a title and as a group were pure poison. So there you go.
At the Palmiotti already told me why they were rejecting it. They already had them in the Marvel Knights book. I got a picture. I have to find it. It is on a old digital camera. I was at Wizard World Chicago, and I'm walking, and there's this guy. He keeps stopping and looking at stuff, and he looks familiar. And I'm thinking, like, is he an actor? This is kind of short, unassuming, bald guy, kind of like a. I mean, this really, like unassuming. I'm not trying to be insulting here because I like him, but then it hits me as someone stops him and starts talking to him that it's freaking Brian Michael Bendis, and, and I'm like, oh. So I run over. I wait till he's finished talking to this guy, and I run over, and I'm like, hey, Brian, can I have a picture with you? And he's like, yeah, sure. And he puts his arm on my shoulder, and I hold the camera, and I take the picture. And it's the only picture of a riot I ever got. But that was cool. I got it's on one of my old digital cameras. Hopefully, I still have a plug where I can plug it up and pull that picture off. Yeah. But yeah, it's that was kind of cool. That was at Wizard World Chicago though, and it was free. So. Because the picture with Jim Lee, the Jim Lee meet and greet, is not free.
Never had any communication directly that I remember with Bendis. back when he was working for Caliber. I do know he was in on a couple of the Friday night parties that I was at, but I don't remember ever talking to him directly. Never, quite frankly, never thought much of him.
There's
I do know he amazingly come up with the name Jinx right about the same time as my New Breed series at Caliber, where I had a character named Jinx. So
I was talking to Jesse, and he was telling me a story that you might remember some of these names, and maybe then you don't. They know you. They all remember you.
Yeah, that's probably one of those bridges I was telling you about.
Guy had a company called Genesis Comics.
Genesis.
And I think for a while they were called Genesis Comics. They became Red Door or something like that. But he had and he still has his Genesis Comics brand, a gentleman by the name of Eric. He apparently the story goes, and I don't know much about it, but story goes, legend has it that they were at a con, and I believe he said they were at Motor City, and David Finch not pitched, but submitted his portfolio, and Eric waved them off on the idea that I don't have enough money to pay for him. I'll pay him. And Jesse was like, "You just made a big mistake. I will take a mortgage out on my house to sign that guy." And by the time he walked back through, he had already had a deal for another company. Has that ever happened to you? Something like that, where you met an artist at the show, they came up, they're looking for work, and you can't make the deal, and by the time you can, they've already got work with a major company?
It's always been exactly the opposite. I find people that if I'm lucky to work with them, they jump into obscurity. Kirk Jarvinen used to live in the area, and he had a career rolling at both Marvel and DC that he decided he didn't want. But I printed some of his stuff at Arrow Comics, but didn't do a whole lot. We didn't work on a lot of stuff together. We talked about doing a lot of it, but never did. That's about as close. He did Aquaman Time and Tide. He stopped working for DC when Peter David wanted to chop Aquaman's arm off. He decided that was not something he wanted to get involved in. And figured it was sacrilegious against the character, and he walked.
I
absolutely refused it. Actually, he pretty much threw it across the floor, and
I have just renewed my membership to the CBLDF, which I think everyone should do, just because I keep doing it every year. In fact, the last 3 years. You ever been a member, Randy?
What?
You ever been a member of the CBLDF?
I have in the past. I'm not currently.
It's a pretty cool organization.
So there were times in the past where I have been too poor to be a member of most any organization. So a lot of that I just never signed back up on, and I should. I mean, I respect both the CBLDF and Hero Initiative both. I have done some good work.
I've know some of the guys who run the Hero Initiative at the cons. I've got a chance to know them over the years, and they were telling me that they hope that there won't be a need for the Hero Initiative in a few years.
I can't see that happening. Not with the way these corporations are, the way that they treat their people.
He was saying that the guys now are much better at managing their money than years prior. They're smarter with their insurance.
That's true.
Some of the companies are actually paying for their insurance.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
but
yep.
we still got for every,
Bill Mantlo is still surviving from month to month
mhm.
in the home that he's at because he needs an intensive care. Marvel should just quietly go in and cover him, period.
Bill
And just say,
Mantlo is the creator of Rocket, right? Raccoon.
Rocket Raccoon, Cloak and Dagger, Power. I don't know if he had a hand in Power Pack, but that was about. I don't think he did actually. I think that's Louise Simonson, but he did a lot of work back during the prime period that's being turned into movies right now. And just for Rocket Raccoon alone, he ought to be taken care of. But
Marvel has the money to do it. They have the money to make sure he's covered.
Oh, they can, life. They could just quietly walk in and say, "Here's the," and just take it out of his royalties.
I know his brother has a GoFundMe set up right now.
Yeah, desperately looking for funds.
Yeah,
and that shouldn't be. I mean, Marvel should have enough. But hey, it's Marvel. They're still, considering some of the stuff that they've pulled the last few years, nothing surprises me out of that company.
So Randy, you said it before on the show, but before we get ready to go, I want you to
since it is officially midnight.
Yeah, I want you to tell me.
We always talk late on these streams.
You get a call in the morning. It's
we still got 5 people watching. Thanks for hanging on, Tim.
It's
or Ted. Thanks for hanging on, Ted.
It's what's his name? Bob Iger. And he says, Randy.
Oh, hey, hang on, Bert. No, they aren't. Why do you think so many of these writers are crapping out umpteen titles a month, whining they aren't making a living? I'm not quite sure what the context was on that, but they are. That's what they're doing. Anyway, you were saying. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Caught you eating.
Mm-hmm.
Iger.
Yeah.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, it calls you, says, I called you on that little show. My favorite show, Indie Vault. Watch it every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
And he caught up in a week.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
and I went to your Zim Geek channel. I seem to know a lot about comics. So here's the deal. CB's out, you're in.
Okay. I don't care what you pay me. I'll take it. You can pay me intern wages. That'll be fine. I won't make that as long as I've got that power.
Mm-hmm. Do you fly in?
Hell yeah.
You want to walk in the office?
Oh yeah. I'd like to walk into the offices with Iger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you?
And I have Iger stand there and go, that's all. It's only got to be there for a second because I know his time's important.
Yeah.
Just walk in, go, that guy's in charge. CB's gone. See ya. That's all he has to say.
Mm-hmm.
That would be heaven.
Are you familiar with Chef Ramsay?
Yeah.
Is it a Chef Ramsay moment where you're going through the bullpen?
No. It wouldn't be that mean. I wouldn't be that mean, but it would be very concise, surgically concise. Like I said, I'd get an egg timer, one of those little egg timers that the little flipper hourglass things. I'd set it on a table, and I'd start at the bottom of the writers, have them come in, or talk to me over the phone, and I'd set the egg timer down. I say, tell me your favorite story. And then tell me the favorite story that you wrote. Mm-hmm. And if either one of them don't make sense by the time the egg timer's done, they're fired.
Are you canceling books?
Oh, man. We're talking. Yeah. It would be, I would just walk in with a machete on the desk, thump. And I'd bring them in, I'd bring their book in, and I'd chop their book in half and say, get out. Go. But then I'd have to go. It'd be a long, laborious process because you'd have to find people to replace the people that you ditch. Mm-hmm. And I would end up replacing probably 80%. And some of them rather vocally and intentionally rough. I mean, they're the people. I would be like Trump. I'd sit up there for a week and run tweets 24/7. Tweets. You know what Salma told me today? Rule number 1. Anyone going for a milkshake during lunch had sure better be punched out. That and I would just taunt these people for a week just to raise their anxiety levels. that would be before the egg timer happened. But there'd be certain people that would just go. It would just, but I'd be calling everybody though. I'd be calling up all of these guys. Everybody that has worked for Marvel in the past, including Shooter, especially Shooter, Ron Friends, all of these people, and go, hey, you want a book? We're talking about getting the gang back together. Hey, Don McGregor, I got a regular monthly for you. And we'd go through and restructure that company so that it was making money. That's all. And the first step is to bring in all of these old workhorses, and I'd go through and tap the guys that never worked for Marvel before. Let's see, call up John Ostrander, see if he's up for writing a book. Call up Bill Loeb, see if he's up. Well, see if Bill's up for writing a book.
So your assistant, in this case me, I'll just come in and say, Mr. Zimmerman, there's a call for you. Your
first job would be to walk through the entire offices laughing hysterically. That's what I'd do. You get to go through and laugh, and if you want to stop and point at somebody, do it. Just do it. Just raise the anxiety level of the entire office.
Would you be happy when it's your yearly what is it called? Oh gosh,
my yearly review.
Yearly review of a yearly consultation, or I
tell you this, Bob Iger would be happier.
Your yearly review, or your yearly blue sky with Diamond, where you get Jeopardy on the phone.
Not right away.
No. Would you look forward to that meeting?
No.
That phone call?
No. These guys are underlings. They're the middleman. You got to clean your own house first. It's going to take you 6 months at least, maybe a year, in order to get the proper titles up and running again. Then I would hire 2 or 3 people that their job would be nothing to do except to harass Diamond constantly. Any little problem, you're on the phone. You better know your rep. The rep might even get an office in my office, just so my people can harass him enough to make sure that we were getting a fair shake. That's what I'd do. Who's the rep? Who's our district rep for this? Have him come in. I got an office for him. Give him a table. Give him a chair. Have him sit there. There's 3 seats right in front of that desk for all 3 people asking questions. And if those 3 people can't keep him occupied long enough, I'd get new people.
Or maybe a 4th.
No, you only need 3. 3's enough. 3's enough to drive him crazy. But like I said, I'd make sure that company made money. I'd be trying all sorts of different formats. Suddenly Marvel's printing treasuries again. Suddenly they're printing 100-page newsprint books for $4.99 that they can sell through Target. They might even be print and digest by that point, and we'll chum up with Archie and stick them back in the grocery stores.
Did you jettison Captain Marvel back out to space?
No.
Can I keep her around now?
I would probably turn Carol Danvers back into binary and shoot her back off into space.
Yeah.
But I would bump up Monica Rambeau and turn her into the masthead of the company. I mean, that would be the main, that she's the representative for Marvel. This is Captain Marvel. I wouldn't do Marvel Boy. I would never do that, and I'd never replace. I could see Captain Marvel staying a female, but I'd introduce, I'd put new and talent, actual talent, on a lot of these books that they're running now. I don't think I'd do a Miss America or America Chavez book. I would want to add another Hispanic character though, but it'd have to be pretty organic and pretty genuine.
Would you send Marvel back to the cons?
Man, that's a good question. I would definitely change the entire focus of their video channel, their YouTube channel. Hey kids, let's bake cookies. Yeah, there you go. That's gonna sell you some funny books. You know, it would be they'd never do it. You know, it'd all be it's just dreaming, because they wouldn't be able to put up with me.
They probably wouldn't like the fact that you decide to
within a year there'd be a whole different company. You'd have a Power Pack monthly running. We'd reboot Power Pack instantaneously. And we'd have a regular Peter Porker book running.
What's the name of your editorial column?
Zim Soapbox.
Zim Soapbox?
Hell yeah.
They probably wouldn't let me get a bitch box, but I tried.
No. No, you're still a family-friendly company. Yeah. But the problem is these idiots up there want to be diverse and inclusive, but it's all forced diversity and forced inclusiveness. I mean, you've got idiots up there with no talent that are trying to make marks and walk over people and characters and properties that they've got no right to be handling. You know, I'd redo I would one of the first things I'd do is a history of Marvel Comics. That's the first thing I'd do. And not only have the actual history, with the people and point, a lot of people out other than Stan, but I would do a history of the Marvel Universe also and set a timeline. And I would definitely place the FF back in the 60s. But I'd have their descendants running around. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with that. Just, limits of the imagination.
Much different company by the time you're finished with it, huh?
Within a year, it'd be a whole different company. We'd strip out all the X-Men. We'd strip mine that property. That whole, there would be a major reboot. What I would probably have happen is like I was hoping Endgame was going to end. I'd have Howard the Duck get a hold of the Infinity Gauntlet and snap and have it all go white. And I'd tell everybody that was left up there, those were the people that I could actually work with, that all your titles end in 3 issues. Do it. And that's it. And this is how it ends. It goes white. Your character goes, oh, and then it's a white panel. And then we'd reboot the entire line. We'd start over. We'd do a history of the Marvel Universe, and we'd start doing books all up and down that timeline and just having a shit ton of fun. And make money like there's no tomorrow.
Howard the Duck is an Endgame.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And he should have gotten that gauntlet. He should have rolled right in front of him. He should have put it on and go, ha ha ha, snap. That's the way you end it.
Yeah. Well, Randy, I'm gonna get out of here. It's been as always a pleasure talking to you tonight.
Always good, man.
Yeah. And
did we cover everything? Did we talk about all that? We didn't talk about that Berserker guy.
No, we didn't. But we do
probably not worth it.
We do need to get we're gonna make some plans to get Rob. I talked to Rob today to get Rob on, and because he has different opinions, and most of the same opinions, but different opinions. And that's what we like.
Just a different perspective. That's all. I did books back in the 80s. He's doing books in 2000 on. So
yeah.
He's got a 20 years less experience.
Well, we're talking today, and I was talking to his editor, and he had his editor with him today and we're talking, and he's like, "Oh man, you have to edit up." And it's funny because he's taking his editor to a fetish party at the MegaCon, which should be very interesting. I hope they tape it.
Well, and again, all that stuff I never got exposed much to. I saw a little bit of Jello wrestling and a very interesting adult floor at a gaming convention once, but that was about it.
Yeah.
So.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching Indie Vote. We will see you next week on Tuesday.
Make sure you watch Indie or listen to Indie Volt Radio. Take a listen to Zim Geek channel on YouTube.
And we got new content
coming.
We have new content coming to Indie Volt TV on the Roku as well, so you can watch that. If you have a Roku device, it's free. Look for it, Indie Volt TV. Indie Volt TV.
You can always put this on your Roku.
Oh yeah. These go up. These two I already have them encoded to go up. I just haven't put them up yet. But yeah,
there you go. Yeah. Two crazy people talking about the industry. Yeah, there you go. Want to learn something about comics? Don't watch this channel. There's a comic books historian channel. It's a lot better. Anyway.
I'll put that up there too. I'll put the Zim Geek stuff up there. All right, thank you, everybody.
You're welcome to do it, man.
Cool.
Just send them back to that YouTube channel and keep bumping up my watch list.
Yeah,
or my hit count. It's all good.
All right. Good night, everybody in the chat. We will see you pretty soon.
See you next week. I'd say see you next Tuesday, but that.